fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again, you gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Mandatory minicamp did get underway today for the Buffalo Bills, and good news for them. Running back James Cook, a full participant today. All players also did report, but there were a few injuries. Taron Johnson, Connor McGovern, Cole Bishop, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Bale Inspector, Cam Lewis, and KJ Hamler. But head coach Sean McDermott said none of these injuries should spill into training camp. And then before practice, the Bills did announce a one-year deal for Shaq Thompson. We'll get more on practice later today when Sal Capaccio joins the show. A number of players, though, did miss some mandatory camps today. Terry McLaurin for Washington, Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati. Rookie Shamar Stewart is in attendance, but he's not participating. TJ Watt for Pittsburgh and Jonnu Smith for Miami. We also have some baseball today. The Bisons are back home. They take on the Clippers. First pitch at 6:35. It's going to be over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. And then in the majors, the Mets host the Nationals just after 7. Then at 7:40, the Yankees are in Kansas City versus the Royals. And the Blue Jays, they are in St. Louis against the Cardinals. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
Last night at 12:30 in the morning, I ate a can of mushrooms. I did. Pieces and stems, if you're wondering. As opposed to buttons. It was pieces and stems, which will be my next year's fantasy football team name.
Pieces and stems.
Pieces and stems.
And the Bulldog.
I should be ashamed to admit this publicly, but whatever. How long we've been doing this? I'm a junkie. I can't be trusted.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Still trying to find a team for the rebrand, like John Oliver and the Erie Sea Wolves or whatever that is, where I can rebrand it to Cracklin' Cap Hits. It makes me laugh every time. Cracklin' could go with a whole cereal theme.
Yep.
But the original is Cap Hits. That's the premise of that's the bit. It's the cereal's name is Cap Hits, which does not make sense. But
did you already find a home for pre-horse collar Grogans?
No, I'm not doing that one.
Oh.
It's just too clunky.
Oh.
But I do like.
Did you leave it for me when I branch off and start up my all my other fantasy teams?
That's right.
That I'm never.
You can have it.
Do. Yeah. Thank you.
It's cute. But it's not.
How patronizing.
Maybe. Yeah, it's not my favorite. It's okay.
Cute is so much worse than fine.
We're talking about James Cook today, so it's fine. I'll say it's fine.
Right.
He's fine. Everything's fine. Thanks a lot there, Jimbo. We love you. Thanks for coming in. I mean, this could have been another 2 months of content. And maybe it still will be. I don't know. Like, he didn't sign anything today.
Yeah. I don't know.
Thanks a lot.
Doesn't sound like it's going to be much of anything.
In the most derogatory way possible, I want to say thanks for showing up. Really, just thanks for really. We couldn't even have the base assumption that he wouldn't show up today. I didn't even get tomorrow.
Right. These guys just avoid. I don't know, man. They are not hitting potholes. This organization. They do a good job of steering clear. It's like they know which roads to go down. I really thought. For sure, at least this. Like, I didn't think it would go much further than this, but that he wouldn't be here for this. So,
do you think he knows that there's a deal that's done?
No.
Because you don't think they would do one?
No. I just think there's too much ground to cover between the two, but I don't know what's in his heart. Maybe he knows that he'll accept, at the last minute whatever it is that they've already offered or something. I mean, I can't know that he doesn't feel that way, but I think if you were still trying to extract your deal or something as close to a deal that you wanted to begin with, then I think you withhold your services. I don't think coming in and appearing to play nice really is a very effective bargaining tool. There's no noise. He's here and he's participating and he says he'll be at training camp, and I don't know, maybe that is just because he thinks that if he plays nice, it'll happen, and maybe this will blow up or something when that doesn't come to pass, if he's counting on it.
But it's tough to assume that, though.
It is. I'm mostly assuming that he realized, okay, I've done all I can do short of costing myself money. And I know it's sort of backwards, but I think you need the new deal to have the fines relieved. And if there's no deal coming, then maybe you come in to avoid the fines. He did say, I'm here because I like my money today. So the fines are at least a part. He's admitting, I don't know if he's just trying to be funny or what, but I think he's admitting that the money, losing the money, motivated him in part to get here for this.
I know, but like if he, I still do not predict that nothing will change. Sorry for the double negative so early. I still think something else will come down the pike on this guy, a compromise sort of deal at some point. And my guess today would be that he knows that. And I think if that's right, and you're kind of predicting that it isn't, if that's right, then the 3 days of fines just get washed away. I mean, one way or another. It's a lot of money in real life.
Sure.
$40,000 a day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
In real life, it's a lot of money, but you come in at $10 million a year or something, and they can erase the fines or not, and you're still in a great place.
But I don't think they can erase them without a new deal.
Okay, no, I heard you say that.
Yeah, listen, that's my understanding, but I'm not ironclad 100% on that. I just know that it's possible in his situation to have those fines recovered or forgiven, but I think you need the impetus of a new deal to build that in. But I don't. Again, I'm not positive of that. But I'm pleased that he's here. From a content standpoint, I mean, I hear you and feel you, but I think it's impressive that he's here. I don't think if you suspected a deal were, I guess if imminent, like if your agent tells you we're going to have this done by this afternoon, go get in there, then that's one thing. But he didn't sound like that talking today at all, really. So I don't think that there's just the hope of a new deal is what got him in here. I think responsibility and the reality that he was going to be fined close to $100,000 if he missed this, and then a whole new set of fines would start up once training camp begins that are even more severe, I think. As this thing goes, it escalates, right? My understanding is it's like $17,000 day one, day two it doubles, and then it's up to like $54,000. So it's like $100,000 for the 3 days, and I can respect not wanting to give that up, especially if you're not optimistic about being able to recover it.
Yeah, if you made $50,000 a year, then this would be a $1,000 fine, and that would be a lot.
Yeah. I would act accordingly in that case.
I don't know. It's certainly fair to say you're impressed. In terms of negotiating, until there is some news, and I'm telling you that I expect there will be, where they get a longer-term deal done with him, I mean, this is terrible. Like, what kind of negotiating was this?
Yeah.
I want $15 million a year. I mean, it's for all intents and purposes, it's a quote. I mean, he's on social media. Maybe he's not saying it to the Bills, but don't say it to us and then not to them. Like, do you mean it, or is it a joke, or is it for real? So I want $15 million a year. Here's the very first day on the calendar, and the season is 4 months out. The very first day on the calendar where your presence is required. And you're like, okay. I have nothing else to do. I mean, just why did we even care?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's part of my frustration is that. Well, it's multifaceted.
Well, we've been talking for months about something that amounted to nothing.
What has this been for?
Which does happen kind of a lot in this business, I guess.
Maybe everything we talk about is meaningless. But
it amounts to nothing.
What was it for?
Yeah.
Did the Bills just think he was kidding? Did they just I don't know. I'm already at risk of sort of over analyzing it. What was it? It's on Twitter. When some other player on another team uses Twitter, we talk about whether he's actually serious. With Cook, we're kind of like, okay, he seems serious. We didn't even really have that conversation. Maybe I don't know what to say. Whether he was just playing around or what, or whether the Bills have something for him and he knows it. Allen's quote, he's one of the best backs in the league, and hopefully that'll be reflected soon.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like maybe Allen seems to he's talking like
that's the most encouraging thing toward your thought that there's a deal out there to be made, is that the quarterback is talking like that, and that could be somewhat informed, or it could just be hoping for the best for his teammate, which is innocent enough and might be all that is. But it is a window into, which is not surprising, that the most important player in the organization, I think most players in the organization would like to see James Cook get rewarded, because they would like to be rewarded when they deserve it. That's just the way that works, So I do think Allen, could be giving you a clue that something could be coming, or it could just be supportive, which is not at all surprising. So, just a nothing burger.
If Cook never tweeted anything, if we just had no inclination to wonder what his thoughts were on his, future, we maybe never would have talked about him at all. Like he's on the team, he's under contract. He'd fit in, and he still does. He'd fit into the context of players that you can re-up, like Bernard was and Benford.
Yeah, I don't think it obviously would not. I would say obviously would not have gobbled up the amount of time that it has, but it would be notable that he was omitted if Benford got his deal and Bernard got his deal and Shakir got his deal and Rousseau, even though he was in a slightly different situation, but still got a lucrative extension. Cook being the one who didn't. We'd be talking a lot about running back, and is that why? What is it? But sure, no, it would be. I think the assumption would be that the piece is being kept. He's going to come play the deal out. They probably tried to get an extension done and couldn't, and he's just going to play, which is kind of what I thought. Well, I didn't necessarily think it would happen. I thought he wouldn't be here today, even, but I thought eventually we'd get to that. That he's going to realize, I don't really have any leverage here. I have to come play if I'm going to get the bag one day. It just might not be when I want it to be, which is tough. I mean, I don't feel, I'm glad he's here, but I don't feel great for this guy. He might be about to head down the road of, going into a season and not having any net under him at all. That's why you want to strike when you just had 16 touchdowns and you're eligible for the extension, obviously. Get the security, get some guaranteed money. Okay.
Well, some strike.
Right.
Funny word for it. It's also a word for like a holdout.
Right.
We got none of it. I mean, how does it not last one day? Even yesterday, like you had people talking about, he was on the plane. He was here, actually. Like,
right.
Okay, but doesn't Adam Schefter know that? Guess not, because he was talking yesterday.
Yesterday it was don't expect to see him anytime soon. So, okay, so much for that.
Super. Yeah. Good.
That though is
crisis averted.
That is something I didn't go into his feed to see if he elaborated, if there was anything in between, right? Yesterday's tweet, don't expect to see him anytime soon, and today he's going to be there and fully participating. But if you want to be optimistic that they're going to reach, a piece that includes a contract extension, maybe that's an encouraging sign. I mean, if Schefter was being fed that by Cook's agent, that he's not going to be there, which, I would suspect that's where it came from, but it didn't have to, then maybe something changed in the last 24 hours. And hence he's here. But again, I haven't seen anything to elaborate on the reporting from any of the big heavy hitters. But
I will say, and maybe you want to call me on this in some way, like what are they really skipping by skipping these 3 days? The third day they go bowling or something.
Usually,
right?
Yeah.
What are they really skipping? Did I see that he took 6 snaps? Like, there's no hitting. It's pretty chill. I mean, for a football practice, it's about as relaxed as it probably ever gets. So there's no real injury risk. how real is T.J. Watt, McLaurin, Jonnu Smith? How real is the threat when you skip? I mean, there's also the voluntary period, which he did skip, but you skip 3 days in June, early June, and okay, so what does that have to mean when you do that?
I don't think it means anything toward your preparation or being there for your teammates and all that sort of stuff, because you can be as ready physically. This isn't going to physically get. It's more just about being united, I think, is the only thing you're accomplishing. You're sending the message that this matters, my teammates matter, winning matters, so I'm here. So really, the only thing you accomplish by not being there is defying the order to be there.
Simply just the commitment to the overall is just achieved simply by showing up.
Right.
That's kind of all they need. They didn't need him to break any tackles or
all you're really
set a
being asked
speed
to
record.
do is show up.
That's it. So from one angle, why wouldn't you just go and not be fined and not cause a stir? Like, why wouldn't you just go? I just say that because now I think the instinct, or not the instinct, but the conclusion you want to draw is, well, there's no issue. He'll either get a new deal or he won't. But he's even saying he plans to be at training camp. Like, there's just not a thing. There's not a thing here like we thought there would be. And, maybe that will be what happens. But I'm just saying that to show up this week and run 6 plays in shorts and maybe do that tomorrow and then go to the Falls, it doesn't really seem necessarily like a big statement.
No, you're hardly.
It seems like I would do it.
You are hardly giving
the
the impression that you're dug in, really at all. You're sending the opposite message, which is I intend to be here,
but you could still not. That's what I'm saying. Like in July, if he doesn't have his contract that he wants in July,
this could change.
Yeah, then to not be present for training camp. Like there's no practice like this at training camp, right? Like from the first day, they go hard. That's kind of the point. It's now, here we are, we're together. We're going to talk about the plan. We're going to talk about maybe some certain scheme changes or whatever it might be. New coaches, new players, draft picks. Like it's a thing. But the, DEFCON for missing this week is not much of a change.
It's
but
minimal.
If you're not here in July, that's a bigger deal.
Yeah, I definitely. We talked this through yesterday, just in the context of like your friends, so Bills fans that you're friends with. Nobody's asking me about minicamp. I myself was not. I mean, as much as we're talking about it, I wasn't really worried about him not being there. It was sort of obvious to me that he wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so,
you could have said, like, so what if he isn't?
Yeah, I would have said, of course he isn't. he's trying to achieve something that the Bills seem reluctant to give him, and so the only power he has is to not be here for this. And it is the kind of thing that I doubt that the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cincinnati Bengals or the Miami Dolphins are going to be mad at the guys, respectively, that aren't there for this. But you start not being around for training camp and the season is in the window, that's a different thing. So I always thought it would be a much bigger deal, and I said this yesterday. Like if he's not there July 20, whatever the date is, then I think my friends would start asking again. What do you think about Cook?
That's right.
He's going to be there if he weren't there for this. Now that he's here for this, it's just like, and he's saying I'll be there in July. Well, then I don't know. Yeah, what? Nothing to see here. Move along.
Oh. Just now, what do we do? Well, what is if you do want to assume that he'll be at camp and it's all good, even if they don't give him another penny, which, again, good job, great effort.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to assume that, what's the biggest thing in front of them? If it even was James Cook before. Like they really don't have another player with any kind of similar situation. You've got a couple guys facing 6-game suspensions, but that's not right now. Like, that's only when the season starts, and they're prepared for that. Everybody knows that. And I don't think I brought this up the other day, just kind of let me know if you think this is worth talking about. But I don't think we're talking about making a move for TJ Watt or Terry McLaurin or somebody like that. I mean, the Bills, Spotrac has the Bills in like remaining cap space as last, 32nd in the league. Different ways of sorting out the money stuff, they rank differently. But it's not a team that can do anything it wants with money right now. So I don't know, like what is there that's before them? It already was. Now I'm getting a little carried away, but it already was a team that for a few years running, it's really just about what happens in the postseason. Not even the regular season. The Bills are more like a hockey team, a good hockey team that you just know.
Right.
Dare I say it? You just know they're going to be in the playoffs.
Who you're going to match up with. That's really all we're thinking about for the last third of the season or more.
Right. Like the last 2,000 Tampa Bay Lightning regular season games have been like whatever.
Right. Am I going to be home to play Florida or do I got to go on the road?
Whatever.
That's really it. Yeah. Right.
So,
or Toronto, whatever.
For the Bills, it's already like the regular season itself is kind of, it's not, but it's sort of just a lead-in. I know how I sound. Like I don't assume they'll make it this year, but the odds are really good. So it's just like that. And now I'm, trying to find what is it that has to get figured out when it comes to the Bills. And I don't know. Like really, Cook was you could hear to my voice the sadness. Cook was the one thing that was kind of like out there. I never even thought it was like a big deal that he not show up. Like I don't think it's a different team without James Cook. No. But even as somebody that thinks that way, at least we had a discussion there. We had a little bit of a not a crisis. It did not become a crisis.
Sure, no.
We had a story.
You're always going to have the faction of the fan base that is like, shut up and play. You've signed a contract. Don't be selfish. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. And then people that love him because he had an awesome year and they should pay him just to keep the peace. And somewhere in between lies probably a lot of people like, I really like this guy, but I don't want to pay a running back that much money and that kind of thing. And yeah, that's all gone. It's just all gone. Like what is left is what? Integrating young guys. Dermott said today we're going to play a lot of young guys on defense. Like that's maybe the most interesting thing about them is that they've got these new pieces on the back end with Cole Bishop presumably stepping in, a rookie at corner battling old holdover Tre'Davious White back for a second stint, and then up front you got all these new moving pieces. Like, yeah, we're into the depth chart and position battles in a way that like that's it. That's the next thing on the list. I think after is James Cook going to show up? And, that's I know how that conversation usually goes. It's short and usually barely between us.
The depth chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, it's time for plan B.
Right.
No holdout. All right. Well, if you're surprised, you're not surprised, you want to talk about James Cook's importance to all of this, we welcome it. 803-0550 is the number. Sal Capaccio will join us at 4 today, and he was there for all of it. Josh Allen spoke, Sean McDermott, and Cook as well. We'll take a break first and look for your calls as we go. Thanks for listening. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
been since so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all
here, and he's working as hard as he is, being on the field with us. I know a lot of guys that wouldn't do that, but he's out there and working hard and showing everybody that he's here for the right reasons, and hopefully that can get solved. I love Jimbo. I think the whole team does, and he's one of the best backs in the league, and hopefully that can be reflected soon. And just props for him to be here and show out like that. So very proud that he's here.
Josh Allen, James Cook, present and participating in mandatory minicamp today. Works hard. I mean, this is not. It's relative. It's football. I mean, there are going to be tougher practices than today. I still think today is pretty light. It's the end of the school year. Like I asked my daughter recently, "What do you have in school today?" She said, "A movie." Right? You get to the end of the
field day,
the end of minicamp. This is the end of minicamp.
You don't have to go to field day anymore, do you?
I don't know the status of field day.
Yeah, I don't. When they were really little, it was like, I gotta go to field day. I feel like once middle school hit, there was no more field day.
You think they don't have that anymore?
Well, no, I think they have it, but you don't feel compelled to go.
As a parent?
As a parent, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's right. I think that's probably right. Let's talk to Joe here. Hi, Joe.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. Thanks, Joe.
I just wanted to point out, behind maybe Saquon and Henry, Cook might have been the third best back in the league last year. And, yes, you can say that was a breakout, whatever. He has done exactly what the Bills have asked him to do, and very effectively. And everybody watched that championship game. Every time he was on the field, he hit, 6 yards a clip? He would go out for 2 series. The drive would stall out. You're not going to convince me he's not a difference maker. Is he worth 15? No. Is he worth 11? Debatable, with incentives maybe to get to 14. And I think he's an asset to this team and better, significantly better than Ty Johnson and Davis.
Okay. I just don't. I just don't. I think your running game is by a lot most incumbent upon your system, your ability to open holes, the threat that your quarterback presents in more ways than one. I think James Cook is good. Is he the third best running back in the NFL? You didn't quite say that. You said you think he had the third best season, or he might have had, as far as you went, the third best season for a running back in the league. And, 18 total touchdowns might be the first place you look.
Yeah.
His yards per carry, a lot of his other stats were better the year before. I think the year before does probably as much to define his quality and value as last year does, because touchdowns are so much variance when it comes to that. So I think it'd be tough to say he isn't better than the other guys they have. Yesterday we had a caller say he's maybe the third best running back in the AFC East, and I'm closer to that.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with how much better he is than the other guys on his team. You line up James Cook, Ray Davis, and Ty Johnson, and you want to get Darrington Evans and Frank Gore Jr. in here too off the practice squad, and have them compete in like a round robin superstars type competition. Maybe James Cook is the superior athlete to all of those guys. I just think as a running back in the NFL, it doesn't matter that much. I think you could find someone else to do comparable to what Cook did for you. There are things you'd miss. Cook found another gear last year. I don't know how much he's talked about, if at all, what he did differently from year 2 to year 3 off-season wise, but he ran away from people last year in a way that he hadn't in his first 2 years. And that's to his credit, and maybe you'd lose some of that. But I don't know, moving the chains, receiving out of the backfield, I think Johnson is superior at that already to Cook. That's not just because that's how the Bills use him. You've seen Cook have trouble corralling the ball on pretty easy pitch and catches, and Johnson catches almost everything, even high degree of difficulty plays. So I don't know how much you'd really be losing. I don't want to just discard the guy and say he's not helping them at all. But I'm not in favor of really even a compromise $11 million. The only reason I'd be in favor of a compromise $10 or $11 million contract extension is just so that everyone can just sing the song and hold hands,
which is what they're doing anyway,
right? Which is probably what they will end up doing if they don't do that. Because Cook, I think, is going to realize my best way to keep this going here and get paid next year probably by somebody else or maybe this team, is to go do what I did again.
Well,
that's it.
I said what I said, and then you went, and I don't want to run him down as a player. I want to run him down as a negotiator. Because it seems like he may be a terrible negotiator. I mean, the whole point about Dalvin Cook, his brother, and like how he pushed so hard at times in his career for money, I mean, maybe he deserves criticism for that. I don't think he's bad, but he's not Jonathan Taylor. You know, he's not one of these guys where if you didn't have Allen, if you had replacement level quarterback play, this is like the Bills of the previous decade, where, you know, you're hoping that LaShawn McCoy being better than average, at times even a lot better than average, is going to get you there. And that's really what I want to say another thing after this. That's really what the value is about. Whether, you know, running back, any position on the field, how am I different if you're not there? Like, that's where running backs are in tough. I do want to say, though, last year and maybe the year before a little bit, it was a different league. You think about Allen's stats last year and the Bills scoring. This is I think a lot of fans, and I understand it. Listening to me now or us in general, you know, what is it going to take to sort of wake up to this works, right? This offense works, and he's a big part of it. 30 points a game, franchise record, all of it. And it is largely a function of how defenses have changed. I mean, that's very different from 5 years ago, where we would talk about, you know, at least we got this right, that why are we so concerned with stopping the run in this league where passing is so much more dangerous? Like, why are we so obsessed with that? You've got guys like Rodgers who never threw a pick, and the young talent Mahomes and Allen and Lamar Jackson represented, and the league got to a point where, like, these quarterbacks, I mean, Mahomes had a 5,000-yard season. Allen was doing things almost right away. Jackson right away. Like, the league didn't know what to do with these guys. And finally, it shifted, I mean, pretty dramatically to a league where, all right, we're not going to make that easy anymore. We got to do this differently. And that's where, I mean, the Bills were right on time with their approach with Brady, and then last year and Cook having the season. It's not just a coincidence, you know? So I think there's more of that coming. I don't know why defenses would go back yet. I mean, I don't think success like the Bills and other teams had on the ground is enough for me to think philosophically defenses are going to line up differently.
Right.
And let Allen go back to throwing it over the top or whatever. I think this is better for defense, and that's going to be better for running backs, you know, and that's Barkley's season, that's Henry's season, and it's Cook's season, right? I mean, he had 1,000 yards almost exactly. He didn't have, a huge yard year, but the touchdowns were big.
Yeah, the value really is derived from not necessarily the stats that he's put up. It's what is your situation on the team, and what is the thing that makes it go? And the obvious answer here in Buffalo and in Kansas City, in any place that has a quarterback of that stature, is the quarterback makes it go. And yes, you've got situations where teams have seen fit to pay running backs along with quarterbacks. Philadelphia is doing it. Baltimore is choosing to do it. But I just don't think those guys are more significant in their roles, playing time-wise, than even Cook is here. And so you just end up at, if they want me to do this, they're inviting me to do this, congratulations, you're good at it, but is it the thing that's driving the whole operation? I mean, obviously not. You can like James Cook or running backs as much as anyone, but if you think like James Cook is the driver of that offense, you're standing on the wrong base. It's Allen, and even if they throw less and run more than they used to, it's because of Allen that they can do that and be successful. So remove him, and you're cooked. Sorry, I'm not trying to be cute. You're in real trouble. Remove Cook, and you're going to plug someone else in there, and yeah, you might miss certain aspects of it, but it is not going to derail the entire operation. Nick Chubb's been in the news. He's signing with Houston. He was, before injuries really derailed him it's been like 2 years now, right, of trouble for him injury-wise. He was the best running back in the league. Right? Yards per carry, yards after any metric you want to unload on me, Nick Chubb probably rated very favorably in it. How good were the Browns the entire time that he was there? Maybe the best running back in the league. They were terrible. They didn't have anybody that could threaten you to throw the ball capably, and they were terrible. Objectively terrible. That's the story. It's harsh, but that's, I think, the way you should look at it.
Dennis is next. Hello.
Hey, guys. So to reiterate, I think something that's been said a lot is, the fact that he's not a third down back. I think I think it's a good move for him to just get here, and I think maybe who knows if he's realizing that, but to not be able to play on third down, it's not only the catching point, but it really is the pass blocking point. And from a coach and a GM's perspective, I mean, as fans we can look at stats, but as a coach and a GM, they are looking at the all around player, and James Cook gets absolutely steamrolled when he's out there trying to pass block. He's awful at it. And so that not only takes him off the field on third down, but that takes him off the field in 2-minute situations. That's why he's not on the field in some of the most important times. And, if he comes to that realization, I mean, there's no way that we're going to pay him $15 million. He's not a go-to player. He had a nice year with a lot of touchdowns. Some of that was circumstantial. But when you need him the most, he's not going to be a guy that we can rely on. And that's a problem, for a guy that wants top-tier money.
Okay, yeah.
I think the third down and the 2-minute drill point are strong. I mean, that's, what do we want in those moments? You need your guys to make plays. And you can criticize the hierarchy here, the coaching staff, for not having Cook on the field in those situations, or you can trust that there's a good reason that he's not. If he is athletically better than the other guys, why isn't he there? They don't trust him. That's it. They don't trust him in those situations. And it's hard to me to buy that you're irreplaceable if I don't trust you in the most important situations in a game. Oh, God, that sounds so harsh.
Mike is next. Hi, Mike.
How you doing, guys? On the subject, I mean, I know you said, if Cook wasn't there, the offense would still move and everything, but if you just look at the Ravens last year, arguably having, Derrick Henry by Lamar brought out a better season out of Lamar, even though it was better than his MVP season the season before that. And Derrick Henry doesn't play on third downs, even dating back to his Tennessee days. He's never a third down back. So sometimes having that back with that superstar quarterback can make the offense better.
Well, point made, but are we really going to want to split hairs between the 23 Ravens and the 24 Ravens? Jackson did win the Most Valuable Player award in 23. The team was better. Derrick Henry was really expensive. That difference was worth it. They went to the second round again. I mean, that's a tough one.
I agree. And by all means, I'm not saying pay him like Derrick Henry, but the next tier though, at least,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We go round and round on running backs, and most of the time, even examples like that where it's Derrick Henry, all caps. We know how good he is, and we know how good that team was. How much better were they than without him? That's the whole point, is what is his value to the Ravens? And most people would say it's pretty big. And the Ravens are saying that too by signing him and then re-signing him after last year. But they did not have a better season. Maybe their quarterback did. He was the MVP the year before. Maybe he did, but I'm laughing saying it. So then, Barkley is the quintessential example from last year because Philadelphia went from a team that was 11-1 and lost in the playoffs to the very top. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Glad you called. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. This is WGR. Sal Capaccio coming up in 15 minutes or less. James Cook in for mandatory minicamp. What happened to the Edmonton Oilers? Did anybody ask James Cook or anyone else out there today? What happened to the Edmonton Oilers? Bulldog, do you know?
They got fed to the wood chipper that is the Florida Panthers with the man advantage, at least early. They lost it. I mean, the end of the game, maybe even you could describe as embarrassing for them. But really, the story to me was early in the game. Kane taking back-to-back penalties. They just were not disciplined. Later in the game, to me, you want to go jump Sam Bennett because you're convinced he's purposely falling onto your goalie. Fine, whatever. It's hockey. So I don't know. To me, they're far from dead. It was a very tough night, but they've rebounded before in these same playoffs. They had a game pretty similar in Game 2 against LA, and then have barely lost since then. And they've lost 3 games in the playoffs entirely since then. Well, now 4 with last night.
4.
So I'm not as lopsided as it was last night. I would expect more of a return to form in Game 4, a tighter game kind of thing. But it was a really bad night for Edmonton last night.
I was busy with the Marlins Pirates game, so
yeah. Sorry.
Here.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say right from the goalie on out, like the first goal of the game, not even a minute in, he lost the puck. Like he was absolutely he looked as bad as you could look on a goal there to start the game. I don't know about the others. Certainly degree of difficulty was different, but it was a very tough start for him.
Interesting to hear Peter DeBoer step up and criticize
right.
Stuart Skinner for the way that game started. Out of nowhere, really, out of nowhere.
What were you going to give me about Pirates Marlins?
So the hockey game wasn't until 8, and I don't have TNT anyway, so it's not even a thought to watch the finals. And I've been trying to get more baseball in this year. So I'm home after 7. That's the first game on the list was Miami at Pittsburgh. No, numerous people, like 3 people have asked me, why would you watch that? I had it. It was on. It wasn't 8 o'clock anyway yet. Yuri Perez. I'll go with Yuri Perez returning for Miami. First start since his Tommy John surgery.
I flip into the Pirates because they're one of 3 games that on a night-to-night basis I know are going to be there on one of my streaming services.
That's why I saw it, right? Because it was on, basically.
Yep.
And it occurred to me, it sounded like the announcers were not at the game. I texted Filipponi. It's in Pittsburgh. Like, Tom Verducci, why wouldn't they show Tom Verducci in the booth, coming back from a break? They're not there. The other guy's name, I think, is Collins. They're not there. And I just was tilted by that. I know that happens. You had the thing with TNT in the hockey playoffs, and they didn't go to Canada for a while. Like, I was just tilted by not that they would have to be there. I used to say about the Sabres 20 years ago when they were always, whining about money. Don't send your announcers on the road. Like, to me, that seemed like a way that they could save money.
An easy corner to cut.
Yeah, because I think the job is doable. And we've seen it done, even by the Sabres announcers. Like, they had to do that. They've from time to time, COVID, and they've called games from off monitors. And these baseball announcers last night were doing that. But it bothered me that they didn't say it. It seemed dishonest that they wouldn't say it. And I don't know if I'm in the majority on that. I felt a little bit old thinking that. Maybe people half my age are so conditioned by this sort of world where, like, yeah, it's probably fake. Then, like, that's just maybe to be expected that the announcers would not be at the game. At one point, there was a long fly ball down the line that was foul, and they showed a replay of it, and the play-by-play announcer said something to the effect of, wow, that was closer than I thought. And I said out loud to no one else in the house, you're not there. How did you have any thought about how close it was?
You couldn't see it.
I have as qualified an opinion as you do on how close it looked off the bat. Like, we're not at the stadium. Neither of us is at the stadium. It just felt wrong to me that they would do that without telling you.
Yeah, the trick there to me is how often should you make that known to your audience? right? Like, is that something you should say every time you come back to start a new half inning out of commercial? Is that something you should say at the outset of the game and then maybe again a few innings in? I just don't know how frequently you should point out something that is not necessarily going to be perceived as good for you. Like,
well, I think they decided to do it not at all.
Not at all.
And if I were doing it and it were up to me, I'd want to do it out of every break, so that there was no misunderstanding. Like, we're not at the stadium, but yeah, I'm sure their bosses don't want that. Their bosses, networks they've got their own talk shows, and you're not going to see should we be on site as one of the topics on Chris Russo's talk show. Like, that's not going to happen. What? Pardon the interruption is not going to talk about whether announcers should be at games, are they? Because, like, maybe ESPN does it too. I don't know. But it just felt wrong. You know, so much of this stuff, fake ads and all these different things, it's coming. There's another example I'm thinking of, too, when it comes to fantasy. But just like, I even called it Welcome Back to Pittsburgh, I think. And like, you're not in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You don't want to feel like you're being had.
Well,
really.
A lot of things make you feel like that.
Yeah.
Sal Capaccio next on WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again, you gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans.
It was a full roster today as the Buffalo Bills got underway for mandatory minicamp, and that does include running back James Cook, who not only was in attendance but did practice today. Cook, along with quarterback Josh Allen, head coach Sean McDermott, and many other players, also spoke with the media today. If you want to listen back to any of that, you can find it on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Did have a few injuries: Taron Johnson, Connor McGovern, Cole Bishop, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Bale Inspector, Cam Lewis, and KJ Hamler. But McDermott did say during his spot with media that none of these injuries should spill into training camp. And before the Bills got to practice, they also announced an addition to the team, a one-year deal for linebacker Shaq Thompson. We'll get more on practice. Sal Capaccio joins the show next, so stay tuned for that. A number of players, though, did miss some mandatory minicamps today, most notably wide receiver Terry McLaurin for Washington, edge rushers Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati, rookie Shamar Stewart was in attendance but still not practicing, and TJ Watt for Pittsburgh. The Bisons are back at home tonight. They take on the Clippers. First pitch at 6:35. That'll be over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. While the majors, the Mets host the Nationals just after 7. Then at 7:40, the Yankees are in Kansas City for the Royals, and the Blue Jays are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Thinking back a bit, more surprising to have participate at mandatory minicamp today, James Cook or Aaron Rodgers? I mean, Aaron Rodgers was never going to show up for mandatory minicamp, right? He didn't even have a contract yet.
Right.
The one thing I thought we knew was that he was just going to say, "That's a no for me, dog," to the mandatory minicamp. I'll see you when I'll be there. I'm Aaron Rodgers. You don't have to worry. But there he is. I'm watching him right now. Highlights, bopping around back there, taking the hand off, throwing it out there to the flat, looking spry.
I want to push back on bopping and spry.
He's just bopping and bipping and bopping. Number 8. Sal Capaccio with us now on the West-Her hotline. Well, Sal, it is some amount of a surprise, I think, that Cook was there, isn't it?
I think so, sure. I mean, you had reporting coming from, Adam Schefter recently that said that this wasn't going to happen, alluding to that. I don't think he said specifically, but I think it kind of hinted towards that way. And how, there's a disconnect. He's disconnected himself from the team and the city. I mean, they kind of went pretty deep into that.
Don't expect to see him anytime soon was a phrasing used.
There you go.
Yesterday's reporting.
So. Soon was only, for 24 hours, because now we see him. So listen, I mean, I'm a little surprised, right? I'm maybe more than a little surprised. I said with you guys the other day, maybe last week, I at this point probably didn't expect him to be there, but you never know. Well, now we know he's here. And honestly, some more of my surprise might be not only that he showed up, but he actually did everything. And like he was working and, participating like everybody else. So it's just really interesting that we've waited this whole time. We've had all of this talk going on about it, all this wondering about it, and James Cook shows up like everybody else to the first day of mandatory minicamp.
So the question is why, I guess. What if anything did we misread? Like, guy wants to get a bigger contract, of course. He wasn't too shy about, he wanted us to know. And coming off that touchdown year, it sort of made sense. 1 year left. Other Bills got that. He didn't. What did we misread? I guess I want to say, maybe a little bit in my own defense, Sal, as somebody that was surprised too, that I'm not sure how, you'll have a take on this, how strong the correlation is between like being there today and like, I guess the contract is not an issue or not as serious an issue as maybe we had assumed.
Well, I think it's still a serious issue based on everything he said today. Not necessarily like in a threatening or angry manner, but you want to know why he's here? He gave the answer. He was asked why he's here.
I like my money.
I like my money. That's why I'm here.
Right.
That's why they're all there.
That's why he showed up. He didn't want to be fined. I mean, it's simple as that, right? I mean, he kind of gave it to you right there.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be fined, but he still wants to be paid, and he thinks that the running back. He even talked about the running back position should be more valued than it is. That everything will work out in the end. And there was even a part in there where you kind of go back and listen to how he answered things, and I couldn't tell exactly if he was saying what I think he was saying, but I think he kind of left it open that he might show up to training camp and hold in. Like I kind of thought that listening back to the comments to the questions to him, like, hey, are you here? Are you going to be here and do everything and stay here? And then he said, we'll see when it comes to camp, like something like that, right? So yeah, I don't think there's anything about his contract situation or status that hasn't changed. What changed was the fact that he could get fined by not being here.
Right. And, I wonder, Sal, like from his standpoint, I mean, it's easy for us to just assume guys aren't going to worry about the money, but it's $100,000. Like to skip 3 days of like, not exactly, heavy lifting. Easy for me to say. I'm not the one jogging around a football field with a helmet and shorts on.
You make it sound actually pretty chill the way you just said it.
Right.
You made it sound like the hardest thing was putting the equipment on.
I think it might be. It's a lot to assume that a guy isn't going to care about $100,000. I guess is how I would want to say it. And furthermore, I wonder if you know this. I probably should have texted you this or brought it up to you when I was with you yesterday off the air. The forgiveness of fines. Does he need a new contract if he were to have skipped this and be fined that $100,000 in order to get that like refunded or forgiven? Does that have to come in the form of a new contract, or can the team just waive that regardless of a new deal or not?
Because he's still on his rookie deal, I believe that, like, at the end of the day, the team can do that. But they don't have to do that if they think you should be there, right? I mean, I don't think they're just going to do that absent of a new deal.
Right.
I think that's when you kind of forgive those things. So, yeah, because he's on his rookie deal, those things can be forgiven, but I don't think they get forgiven by any team that's not going to give you a new deal. They're
right.
Like, look, what? It wouldn't make sense, I guess, to do that, right? Maybe it would. I guess you could say, like, well, you're going to show up and you're going to be here, so I guess all is forgiven. That being said, now the other part of this is there's been some reporting the last, I guess going back into last week about how according to the CBA, if a player does not show up to the first day of mandatory report day at training camp, he does not get an accrued season. Let me explain what an accrued season is. It's basically everybody in the league. You have to be in the league. You have to have 4 seasons in to be a free agent. But you only get credited with a season if you're on like the regular roster or the practice squad for 6 games. So in order for you to get a season counted towards free agency, that has to happen. But you also, if you don't show up to the first day of training camp, it is done. You can't even get a season. So essentially, if James Cook didn't show up to the first day of training camp, he couldn't even count this year doesn't count for a season for him. He wouldn't even be a free agent. Doesn't say though you have to stay at training camp. It doesn't say to actually do the work. You could show up to the first day and you could leave, and that would satisfy the requirement.
I was under the impression that was for 3, if the player didn't have 3 years. And so I thought Cook sort of was exempt from that to begin with. But I might be confusing things. So maybe I should stop talking because
There's a lot of stuff that's confusing. Let me go back and check. You could very well be right, but I think the way Joel Corey explained it was that. But that could be it. It could be that's the 3rd year. Maybe the first 2 years is when that happens.
Okay, I think I have this then because I heard the same interview that I think you're referencing. This gentleman was on with Chris and Steve on Friday. I sent a message to Brownie about this because I wanted to clarify before we got on the air on Monday. This is why I'm saying I probably should have brought this up to you yesterday when we saw each other socially, and I forgot to. But anyway, I sent a message to Chris. Like, did your guest say that he has to report to training camp or not get credit for the year? And Chris said he looked into the CBA and thought that he was right and that was the case. I'm like, well, that's a big piece of information. But it turns out, once Chris got into it further, that I think Corey misunderstood Cook's timeline. He does not. It does not meet that criteria. So he does not sacrifice the entire season if he's not there to report on training camp day.
Got you. Okay.
I understand.
Now that being said, he did indicate he would be. He said today he was asked once about going to training camp, and he basically is like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And then later, he was asked about, what he would do or staying there or doing work, and he said, I guess we'll see when it comes to training camp or something like that, which I think just leaves the door open for him to still kind of show up but not really do much.
Right. That is really what I keep coming back to is just how necessary is it to correlate presence this week with, like, no issue, no worries, or, the inverse of that. Like, this is a pretty, Sal, right? I mean, this is a pretty chill week. They're working out, there's stuff, they're throwing the ball around and everything else, but nobody's hitting or anything like that. Compared to the first day of training camp when they're on the field, I imagine this looks different. And what is this week, today, tomorrow, and then we'll go to the movies?
Yeah, probably something like that. I mean, yeah, this week is just like OTAs. You're right. There's no hitting, there's no pads, and like the first few days of training camp are like that as well. But you're right; it is a little bit different feel and vibe. And you're there, and you're at Fisher, you're away, you're in a dorm room, and you're going to meetings all day. And the season has started essentially, so it is a little bit different then. I do think it's interesting though that James was asked like, why are you doing everything today? Why are you here? And he said, I'm on a team. This is the team up. This is our team.
I'm a leader,
and I'm a leader. I'm not gonna come here and not do that. So as much as he might say like, we'll see. Maybe it's just because he wants to keep that door open, but it feels like he's kind of given a glimpse into his own little soul here of saying, I just can't do that as an athlete, a competitor on a team, right? Like I need to, I'm going to go out there with my guys if I'm going to be here. So I just think it's really fascinating.
So the bottom line here, Sal, on a team that's not exactly loaded with these sort of potential crisis points or whatever, not a lot of controversy with the Bills. What's going to be our just us talking. What's our group policy then on this subject for the next 6 weeks? Like, it's not completely, if there's no contract announcement, it's not completely dead, right? The idea of Cook causing a stir into the summer, but it's his being here today, I mean, at least softens it some.
I think so. Listen, it's still going to be a talking point, I think, for all of us in some way, shape, or form, because we could always think about, maybe if it could get done and what does it look like if it doesn't get done? And maybe the conversation advances to, well, what do you do at the end of the year? We've had those conversations about guys. But sure, between now and then, there's still going to be some wondering of what is James Cook going to do at training camp? And if he does get to training camp, he plays, then it becomes more of, okay, he's in the last year of his deal. We'll still talk about, will the Bills sign him? What is he worth? That part of it won't go away until there is a new deal or there is no new deal, which is how much is he worth, and will the Bills actually wind up signing him at some point between now and March of 2026?
Yeah, just because he is here now to avoid, spending $100,000 doesn't mean, like, it also could be he was advised, whether something is imminent or not. He could have just been advised, you know what? you made your point on social media. Go in, play nice, and we'll see if that jumpstarts things. And if it doesn't, then later in the summer, training camp is another opportunity to perhaps take a stand if you're so inclined. So it doesn't have to. I mean, the feeling today that I have is that the story isn't completely dead, but it feels like it's on its last legs. He showed up to this. What is he going to not show up for training camp? That doesn't really make sense, but I guess he still could choose to make a stand then. This being a good faith effort to get something done. Look, I showed up, mandatory. I did my work. Let's get this thing moving here, or I could be a problem in the summer.
And it's so easy.
Right.
This week is so easy. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about this team in a lot of respects, right? This is funny because for how many years did, you guys go way back even longer than I do, and I will tell you that for many years I would come on and we'd talk about the quarterback. Who's the quarterback? Before Josh Allen, who is the starting quarterback? We'd have a lot of different storylines on the field. This team doesn't have many of those. There are a few, right? Max Harrison, Trey White, what's happened at D-line? You got a couple of suspensions. But really, there's been very little drama, as we know, with this organization, other than Stephon Diggs a couple years ago, here and there, a few things. Secondly, there's just no spots open. There's not a lot of camp battles. Like, most starting spots are spoken for, except for maybe two of them. I'd say maybe one of them, and even a lot of the depth pieces. So what do you get to? You get to things that, okay, well, how about James Cook and his contract situation, right? So I think that's going to happen, and I do think this year, because of Hard Knocks being there, that will be a bit of a more intriguing, okay, like how much are they going to focus on this? What's that going to be like watching it?
What a rug pull this was. I mean, Bean has to have a deal with Cook. This is his way of getting back at us. Now what will they do? They're still talking about it, and he's here.
We're going to start talking about receivers again.
Who was the starting quarterback of this Bills team back then? Boy, those were the days. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog with Sal Capaccio here on WGR. The rest of today, Sean McDermott speaking, Josh Allen back from his wedding as well. What stood out to you?
A couple things. We could start with McDermott. Actually, let's start with Josh, because Josh, he's another player on the team like James Cook. He did not want to really talk about anything with his wedding, which isn't surprising. Anytime anything came up about it, he would just, say, yep, and hey, we're good. Let's go. Time for football. Back to football. Something like that. So there were a few questions here or there about it. So we really didn't want to go down that road about it. Josh works on different things every year for his game. One thing he said he was working on this year, it wasn't like something, oh my God, I need to work on this, but hey, what are you working on this year? Well, there's always stuff, but maybe my feet and my, having his feet in the right spot when he throws, and he said Chris Scher is there right now. Chris Herr, I think his name is. I apologize. He's the guy who works with Josh on the mapping, and we've seen how they do that really cool thing that we've watched the videos on. He was there today, actually, and the quarterbacks were working with him, and Josh was, referencing him being there and working on that. Really interesting about the wide receivers, how they're all different body types. They all have different skill sets, so trying to kind of work with each of them, whether you're talking about Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel, whoever it is, they're all a little bit different. And, that was interesting to hear from him on that. And I will say, maybe the highlight of the day, you could look at it low light, I guess, the other way, but Joe Andreessen had a nice interception of Josh Allen today, actually, guys, which was pretty cool.
Several guys are injured. Not a big story necessarily. Taron Johnson, we knew on Bosa, and a few more. Hamlin?
Yeah, so Taron Johnson, actually, he is playing. Ty Johnson did not practice today. Taron does have a red jersey and did practice today. So both Taron and Ty, but just to clarify on that.
Okay.
Joey Bosa, we know. DeMar Hamlin, not out there. Connor McGovern. While we were out there, Alec Anderson must have done something because he was practicing, and then trainers came over and they wrapped his leg. But I saw him afterwards. He walked in with the team and all that. It wasn't like he went in. They're going to be very, very precautious, guys, on anything that happens with any of these players right now. KJ Hamler was another one that wasn't out. Cole Bishop.
Cole Bishop, right.
Yep, Cole Bishop. And again, he was out there walking around kind of with the defenders on the field, but when it came time to do stuff against the offense, he didn't do. So that just kind of tells me they're just being really, precautionary. And I think the bottom line on all of them, Sean McDermott said he doesn't believe any of them have anything that will keep them out of training camp, which is big. I think the other notable thing from Sean today was kind of how adamant he got, guys, after a question. I don't know the exact question, but it was something about young players because the answer was animated. And it's not the first time this has happened with Sean when it comes to this particular subject. Maybe more animated ever, but he made it clear, like, that I know that people say I don't play young players. That is not true. Like, we play young players. You earn what you get. And if you earn it, you will play. And this is not the first time he's kind of mentioned something about that particular narrative or perception of him that he thinks that he says is out there but untrue.
Didn't he also, I don't know if it was in the same context, because I did hear this point you're making about him talking about, if your teammates don't trust you, we're not going to put you out there. That's the bottom line. Whether you're a young guy or a veteran guy, your teammates got to trust you. We got to trust you. Trust. But didn't he also say we're going to play a lot of young guys on defense? At one point, that was the thing that really jumped out at me, which is, maybe it's obvious because of their draft class, right? I mean, the first 4 picks were all defense. I would expect them to all contribute in some fashion, whether Hairston wins a starting job or not. I expect him to be in the mix. And then all the defensive linemen absolutely are going to be in the rotation, assuming they're healthy.
Yeah, he did say that. And he said it's just the way it is. He's counting on, he's looking at it right now, and the way he's looking at his defense and the way it shapes up, he believes they're going to be playing a lot of young guys on defense, which is really interesting. And look, I mean, the defense just did not perform as well as they expected or it should have last year. They took the ball away. That was really great. But there were a lot of times where they just did not get, the necessarily results or the numbers that they felt they should get or want to get. And there's still some veterans on this team that will play. There's no doubt about that, obviously. And, Taron Johnson is going to be starting at nickel corner. Terrell Bernard, he is younger, but he's not, he's a vet now. He's going to be starting at middle linebacker. But you're going to have guys. You're going to have a Landon Jackson, maybe a Javon Solomon, a TJ Sanders, a Deion Walker. Those guys are going to play this year. Cole Bishop is a second-year player. He's going to play this year. Max Hairston could wind up starting at corner. We'll see about that. He's going to play. So this is probably a little bit more of a departure from what we have seen from that defense when you had so many veterans like Micah and Jordan and Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano and all of those guys playing for so long.
2 more quick ones. Shaq Thompson signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah, 1-year deal, Shaq Thompson. So the Bills actually get 91 on their roster because of their International Pathways Program player. Once again, that is Travis Clayton. He fills out the roster at 91. No corresponding move was needed. First-round pick of the Carolina Panthers when Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane were together in Carolina in 2015. Helped them be a part of that team that went to the Super Bowl and then put in some fantastic years. Just 3 years ago, he had 135 tackles in a year. But injuries have really kind of hampered him the last couple of years. Sean recognized that. He talked about it. But this is a guy that knows their defense. He's been very, very flexible as far as position is concerned. I don't know what kind of projection he has as far as anything when it comes to a 53-man roster, but it's certainly some added depth that you feel comfortable having if you're a coach that knows a guy that knows your system.
If McDermott gets defensive about whether he plays young players enough, wait till he gets tomorrow's question, why do you guys only sign players from the Panthers? He's going to love that. Next
okay,
time
well,
around.
Actually, he did not get asked that today, and we did find out Shaq Thompson signed before he talked to us, and we won't talk to McDermott tomorrow. So
next time,
he won't get that question.
Okay.
There you go.
Just kidding.
Yes.
Also, it's not like the Bills have every hole filled. Apparently, they're looking for a mascot.
I read that too. I had no idea, but I read that too today, that apparently they're looking for a Billy Buffalo. I read that online, and that's I don't know what goes into. I will say this: I do have a funny mascot kind of that's interesting story. Which is we were in Denver one year. I might have shared this before on the radio, but it's kind of cool. We're in Denver one year, and we're playing the Bills. The Bills are playing the Broncos, and me and some of the people from the team were at the hotel, and we were down in like the restaurant area. This has to be the Kyle Orton year, I think, right? Right around there. So what's that? 2014, right? So. This guy comes into the restaurant. He starts like, oh, hey, he starts knowing all the people I'm sitting with from the Bills. And they're like, yeah, this is it's the mascot for the Broncos. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, how do you know them? He's like, oh, I used to work in Buffalo, and I was a mascot there, and I think he might have been like Sabretooth. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you went from one mascot to the other? He's like, oh, yeah, this is a career. We have like this fraternity of people. All the mascots know each other, and I didn't know this. Like, I thought this is a pretty big deal, guys. But, yeah, they kind of hang out and know each other, and it's a big career that they have that they move around, like people in radio and TV, I guess.
I would love to know, like, what the team looks for in a candidate. I think maybe one thing is you probably have to be in really good shape to be the mascot. Like, you're
probably right.
You're running all over the stadium all day, climbing on stuff, and
wearing that big hot furry suit.
Hot furry suit up and down the steps.
Yep.
All day. I bet you have to be in pretty good shape, but I don't know what else.
Well, that's interesting. So you hear that the Bills they're looking to fill the role of Billy Buffalo, and you might think like, oh, I've got maybe a recent college graduate that's having trouble in the job market. Maybe they should apply for this. They seem about the right size to fit into a mascot suit, but little do we know that there's mascot free agents out there banging the door down. They knew a month ago that Billy Buffalo was going to be available, and these people are all lining up. The guy or girl who used to be the Cincinnati Reds mascot is on line one.
Right.
They
Mr.
want
Red.
Billy Buffalo. They
Mr.
think that's
Red.
an upgrade.
Mr. Red.
Right.
Is there still
I
a
had
Mr.
no
Red?
idea about this, but apparently it is a thing, and it's hey, good for them. It's a serious business. And that being said, though, hey, if there is somebody out there who wants to apply, I would not discourage them.
Wonder how much experience is really necessary here. Very good. Sal, thanks for today.
You got it, man.
That's our dude Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I knew McDermott wouldn't speak tomorrow. I did say tomorrow. I've been around a little while.
Today was it.
Today was it. Just like next time. Just kidding. He won't get that. It would be funny. It should be funny if he's in the right mood. And you come after that, maybe that was a little awkward. And you come back, Coach, why only Carolina Panthers free agents? You might want to be pretty sure of yourself if you're going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
803-0550. James Cook is in. How important is Cook? Do you see it just going smoothly or not that we know? Like, will there be a contract? After all, your thoughts are welcome on Cook, and we'll get into some other topics, believe it or not. So I've said it. Make sure we do.
Okay.
Throughout the day.
Noted.
Lines are open back after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Bills had a full roster today as mandatory minicamp got underway this morning, and that does include running back James Cook, who not only was in attendance, but also was a full participant on the practice field. There were some injuries, though, that were noted from head coach Sean McDermott, Ty Johnson, Connor McGovern, Cole Bishop, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Bale Inspector, Cam Lewis, and KJ Hamler. But McDermott did say that none of these injuries should spill into training camp. And then before practice, the Bills did announce a one-year deal for linebacker Shaq Thompson. For more on today's practice, our own Sock Pacho does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Players that did not report to mandatory minicamps today: Terry McLaurin for Washington, Trey Hendrickson for Cincy, and TJ Watt for Pittsburgh. The Broncos also had a signing today. Running back J.K. Dobbins, a one-year, $5.25 million deal. And then the Bisons, they are back at home tonight. They take on the Clippers. First pitch at 6:35. That'll be over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I credit James. Business is business. At the end of the day, he loves being around this team and the guys in the locker room, and he loves to play football. So I respect his decision to be here and be amongst the team and get some work in today. We're looking forward to that.
Asked Sal, and I should have asked him differently because we've talked about it so often. I knew how he felt. We're all surprised to varying degrees that Cook arrived, taking our cues from, well, Adam Schefter for one. Like the national media weren't telling us that, to expect Cook today. So anyway.
Or Cook himself. Not that he ever threatened anything, but just, we've seen pro athletes in the situation he's been in and handling it the way he's handled it. It was easy to get to. He's not going to show up for this thing.
Yeah, assumptions were made.
Yes.
But I wonder, and I don't think we know this, just how surprised McDermott or Brandon Beane were. Were they told that he'd be here or anything like that? I'm not sure that McDermott wasn't asked that question. It didn't come up in our conversation with Sal. I didn't think to ask Sal. I think it would have been something you'd easily want to point out if he did admit to that. And maybe that's not something he would. He's just more about he's here and we're glad for it. But I wonder how surprised the Bills are. I'll say again, and I'm already sort of annoyed by how, I feel like I might sound obsessed with this. And I'm not obsessed with it, but I wasn't expecting it. I was frankly sort of expecting that we would have this to talk about for, off and on for the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. And maybe we still do. We did talk about that with Sal. It's going to sound more forced, even maybe strange, if we're, again, sounding like we're obsessed with whether a guy who was here today
is going to continue to be here.
Why wouldn't he be? Like I told you I was going to. It could be like that. But I do think this week is so cake for the players. It's not the summer grind yet. It's still just more of I don't want to go too far, but you're just kind of getting together for a couple of days. He wasn't here for the voluntary, but here you get fined. He's here. I like my money, and it's kind of an easy week. So I wouldn't want to, having assumed wrongly that there would be a holdout coming, because why do you just spend any energy announcing interest in a new deal and not be prepared to skip the 1 week that would cost you anything to miss? And it doesn't. It could still happen.
It could still happen. Like I said to Sal, he could be trying. This is an effort to do what the team wants. Mandatory fine. I'm here. Can we jumpstart this again now, please? I would be very surprised if his attending this was not accompanied by a phone call from his agent to Brandon Beane. to see if there's an avenue to like re-engage in talks. That could end very quickly with Beane saying, if you're still in the same place you were, then no, we don't have anything to talk about. Like that could be a very realistic outcome to that. But yeah, I think you would at least maybe want to try. Like, look, my guy came. He's doing things right and not being a problem. And so can we re-engage? And maybe you can, and maybe you find your way to something that's comfortable for everyone. And, this completely goes away. But I do feel like the drama about him showing up is gone. I mean, he said as much. He's gonna come for training camp. The thing that's left somewhat vague, like Sal alluded to, like he didn't exactly say he wouldn't participate, but it was kind of like a we'll see thing. So he could show up in late July at report time and just not hold in is what it's been called the last few years in the league. It's a pretty common practice. He could choose that route once training camp gets here still.
I don't want to be like, I'm not worried about it, but I don't want to be talking about it all the time. If it happens, it happens. There's less reason to think it will because of today. Mm-hmm. It is, however, still a subject pretty much like it was yesterday, whether he gets that deal. Like, that has not changed.
Well, right, because the bigger picture is
that's what matters.
Are you willing to let him walk away after this year? Now, the Bills could choose to franchise him for 1 year. That is different than guaranteed money over 3 years or 4 years or something. So they have that if they feel they need it. They can go that route. I mean, that is a 1 year. That's a big cap number, but it's like the average of the top 5 guys. So, it would be probably around the number he was looking for in a multi-year deal, but just for 1 year. So, but really what it is are they going to invest in him as a long-range part of their team or not? So far, it looks like not. And that's what I think the conversation might shift more away from, oh my God, what about 2025? And what about moving forward? What are you going to do if your plan is to use him up this year and hope he has a great year and rides off into the sunset and gets 4 for $55 million or something somewhere else, or more than 4 for 60 is more the math. Sorry, somewhere else. Okay, well then what for you? Right? I mean, you've got a whole nother round of free agency and a whole nother draft to figure that out. But the Bills ostensibly would be saying, we're willing to let you go after this year. And that could be a bit, that could be a big deal.
Well,
especially if he has another year like last year.
That's all interesting, and we'll talk about it a lot. His absence would have been, content that it's June, right? Like if this were a movie, say Castaway, has the show ever sounded older than a reference to Castaway? Probably has. You have Tom Hanks on the plane. There's the accident. He washes up at some remote island. And then 5 minutes later, he's located and he goes home.
Right.
And he doesn't have to knock his tooth out with that rock. There's no Wilson.
And Helen Hunt didn't remarry.
Helen Hunt's just waiting. She's there to greet him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's right. There's your movie.
You don't really have a movie.
You don't have a movie. Like there's,
it's like a half-hour sitcom episode.
If I sound a little chapped by this, please understand my perspective, where I'm coming from. So, that's not a movie at all. No one would see that. Here is Odell on WGR. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey boys. Appreciate the call. Listen to you guys every morning on the way and every afternoon on the way home from work.
Thank you.
So appreciate the entertainment. I heard Sal talking about the Bills mascot opening, and I couldn't help but remember an interesting story that I thought I would share with you all. I have a candidate that likely won't be applying for that role. So I used to own Buffalo Bubble Soccer. We did the Sabres intermissions. Maybe you would remember we were on center ice for a few years straight. Put people in bubbles. They run around the track. Yeah. So we had that contract. A lot of fun. Appreciate the Sabres for letting us do that. But in the beginning of that relationship, Sabretooth used to come out on the ice and he would kind of bang around the contestants that we would hand select from the audience. and kind of have a good time interacting with the kids, the people in the bubbles. Well, one day we picked a particularly rowdy group from the fans, get them in these suits, and somebody just completely lays Sabretooth out on center ice. And he ends up with a concussion and ends up throwing up in the helmet head of the Sabretooth uniform, which it turned out he was fine, right? He did have a slight concussion, but he was fine. So I get a letter the immediate evening from the Sabres, it's cease and desist. You got to make sure no one ever touches the mascot ever again in the bubbles. So we end up meeting the kid a couple weeks later, and he was good. We got a little laugh out of it. But I can probably assure you that gentleman will not be applying for the Bills mascot.
Yeah.
But so anyway, funny story. All was well. Dude was okay, but yeah, he got laid out on the ice from the bubble, and that was the last time we had any interaction with the mascot at the Buffalo Sabres. So anyway, appreciate the calls, gents. Keep up the good work. We'll be listening to you all year.
All right, thank you. We were in those.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the premise here is what? That the mascot would never want to return to mascotting because he got hit once?
Got smashed by someone in the bubble.
You wanted to tell the story.
Yeah.
Yes, we were in the bubbles, and you got laid out, as I remember.
Well, we did the same night, sumo suits. I took a dive.
Oh, that's what it was.
The sumo suits.
That wasn't bubbles.
We were in the sumo suits, and at center ice, and we ran into each other a couple times, and then I remember thinking it. I think I said to you one time one of us has got to go down.
Yes, you did.
One of us has got to take a dive here because
I couldn't get enough momentum up to knock you off your feet.
Right.
And maybe you were the same.
So
we're just sort of bumping into each other in these giant suits.
Next time through, I'm going down, basically. And I went down.
Yes.
I remember thinking it still is as close as I feel like I've ever come to dying, was trying to get out of that sumo suit. I could not. That thing was not made for someone who's 6'5", and 280 at the time. I could not get that thing off. It was there were three people pulling at me trying to get that thing off, and I was breathing oh my God, I'm going to die in the sumo suit. This is it.
It's one way to go.
This is how it goes. And then, that was first intermission. Second intermission, we did the hamster balls.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
I don't think
bubbles.
that was a high collision event, really. We didn't. I think we were racing.
It was a race around the outside.
Yeah, right.
Around the rink. Rink.
Yeah.
What I remember most about that night is not from that night, but it would have been 2005 maybe, where they didn't have a season then. It was right. Maybe it was 2004.
Yeah, it was before. I think it was before the lockout.
Year?
I think
2003, 2004.
Yeah.
So I met my wife in 2002, and we were married 2 years later. And at some point in there, or even after we were married, doesn't really matter, she told me that she was at that game. And I was probably thinking to myself, wow, and we're a couple? But she was I said, well, what were you thinking? And she said something like, I've never seen anybody look less athletic. Or something like that. So I don't know how that worked out. I mean, she was a big athlete, and,
right.
And I was the least athletic looking person
and still
you could imagine. And it worked. I mean, it's 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yes, that's what I remember her saying, that I was at that.
I remember.
Wasn't impressed.
I remember you telling me about this. I've never heard from anyone I knew that I was out there in those get-ups at all.
Until now.
You will. I remember taking the dive in the sumo suit. The hamster ball, I remember the hamster ball is that despite it being safe if you bump into stuff or other people in the balls or the boards or whatever, I was trying to run inside it and fell and landed right on my knee, and that hurt really. That was I fell straight on my knee on the ice because the bottom of it's touching the ice, and I was basically smashed. I was oh my God, I'm down, I got to get up. I mean, you got, it's intermission of a hockey game. I'm not going to lay here writhing, but that was not fun.
Well, it was a night. It was a way to spend the night.
That was Thanksgiving Eve.
Was it?
Yep. Capitals,
I would have guessed, but not Thanksgiving. So, I mean, packed house probably in the season where they were drawing 11.
Yeah.
They put us in a prime slot. I mean, that was big respect. Giving us Thanksgiving Eve. You could have given us Nashville. I mean, you could have given us any other game. They wanted – the stars were out. The stars were out for that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We will take a nice little break from James Cook. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. This is WGR.
Attention, Buffalo homeowners, is your roof ready for the next big storm? Well, if not, look no further than the fine folks at Amherst Roofing, your trusted local roofers. It's Bulldog here for Amherst Roofing. At Amherst Roofing, they pride themselves on quality craftsmanship and exceptional customer service, whether it's a minor roof repair or a complete full-on tear-off roof replacement. Amherst Roofing has you covered. Call Amherst first at 304-4554. That's 304-4554 for a limited time. Amherst Roofing is offering their once-a-year brand-new roof special for as little as $99 per month. Just $99 a month for a complete quality roof from Amherst Roofing. Don't wait till it's too late. Protect your home and family with a reliable roof from Amherst Roofing. Make sure you call Amherst first at 304-4554. That's 716-304-4554. Amherst Roofing, Buffalo's trusted local roofers.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole. it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
All right, this will have to wait as we're back on the air. I'll get to it. I've got 7 hours, so no rush. Do I want to draft C.J. Stroud this year? So he threw passes today.
Yeah.
There was suspicion about whether his shoulder wasn't right, but looks okay in these clips.
And furthermore, he said, it's much ado about nothing, basically. It was no big deal.
I love that. Where teams give you good reasons to think something's up. Right. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's a holdout. They're like, what do you mean?
We never told you that.
Diggs 2 years ago, giving off all these signs, and he sits down on some version of today, beginning of training camp. It's like, I didn't say that. I didn't say I didn't want to be here. I've only said this.
Yeah.
I love it. Everything's unicorns. So, I don't know. Stroud, new offensive line, but last year's was bad, so maybe that's good. New coordinator, 2 years ago was good. Last year was considered bad. Maybe that's good. Mixon, I don't know. He's never been good. Lots of volume. Nick Chubb, still, really, maybe?
I wouldn't go near it.
Collins is good.
Yes.
Kirk is okay. 2 rookie receivers. I don't know what to do with Houston. They're in a void. I will want to bet on someone else to win that division, firstly because it's going to be better odds, right? Houston will be the favorite. They've won the last 2 years. But maybe Jacksonville.
I would get on Jacksonville myself.
That's the
play. I would want to bet on them passing Houston this year.
Okay. You can do that.
Yeah,
I think I'm about to.
Yeah, all right. Well,
not Indianapolis?
No, I don't like their chances of no. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to go great.
He's got you talk about Daniel Jones like he does not have a career road playoff win.
Yeah.
Let's see Allen do that one of these years.
Let's see Allen go play a pre-Kevin O'Connell Minnesota Vikings team.
Well, it was O'Connell.
It was O'Connell, okay. So
but that was the team with the negative point differential.
I went too far.
A little bit.
It was Kirk Cousins.
It was Kirk Cousins, yep. Yeah, Allen has not enjoyed the, quote, luxury of being in a division where somebody's better, and so the Bills get to play the AFC South winner, the 5-4.
If they were bad enough to have to go play that wild card game in New England against Mac Jones, then maybe you'd have a road playoff win.
That's right. But, hey, look, this guy does have one. You can't take it away from him. You're trying.
You got to keep going to Kansas City. That's pretty tough.
I'm drafting a lot of Daniel Jones, believe it or not.
Well, he does run.
He runs okay,
and then
the weapons are okay.
Falls over sometimes, but yeah, he can.
And I think he's going to play. I think that's kind of settled.
I think almost definitely he's going to play.
Now with another shoulder thing from Richardson, it kind of sounded like that already.
Right.
So that could be something.
But they're not going to be any good.
25 quarterbacks, maybe not. Odds are you're right. 25 quarterbacks have a road playoff, at least one road playoff win since 2015. 25 guys.
That's a pretty surprisingly high number.
Isn't it? 10 years?
10 years. Yeah, I mean, that's more than one road team winning a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are several who have more than one.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Tannehill has 2. At New England, at Baltimore. Brady has 4. Mariota has a road playoff win at Arrowhead for Tennessee.
Oh, right.
John Wolford.
Right. That was Tannehill by the time Tennessee beat them in Foxborough, right?
Right. Yeah. John Wolford started for the Rams in Seattle because Goff was injured, got injured himself early. Goff went in hurt, and they won. So give that one to John Wolford.
Oh.
I wonder if Goff has one. Goff would have New Orleans, the controversial pass interference that wasn't
Sure,
called on
that
Nikhil
was
Roby-Coleman.
the Rams to go to that Super Bowl, yeah.
Look at the list out. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. James Cook was present and active at Bills minicamp today. His value to them for you is what? Lines are open for your calls. This is WGR.
A full roster today at mandatory minicamp for the Buffalo Bills, and that does include running back James Cook, who was not only in attendance but also was a full participant on the practice field. There were some injuries, though, and head coach Sean McDermott did say none of these should spill into training camp. But those that are injured: Ty Johnson, Connor McGovern, Cole Bishop, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Balen Spector, Cam Lewis, and KJ Hamler. Head coach Sean McDermott also confirmed that the Bills are signing linebacker Shaq Thompson to a 1-year deal. A number of players around the league, though, did miss mandatory minicamps today. Terry McLaurin for Washington, Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati. Cincinnati also are dealing with rookie Shamar Stewart, who is in attendance but still not participating. He has still not signed his rookie deal. And then TJ Watt for Pittsburgh. Broncos also are signing running back J.K. Dobbins, a 1-year, $5.25 million deal. Then in baseball, Bisons are back at home. They take on the Clippers. First pitch, 6:35 tonight over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. While in the majors, the Mets host the Nationals just after 7. And then at 7:40, Yankees are in Kansas City versus the Royals. And the Blue Jays are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
We were having a very serious conversation about mayonnaise here.
And the Bulldog.
And don't even talk to me about weed.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Well, if you've been listening today, I want to think you've sort of at least, if not heard my, like, a little bit of, for now I'll say frustration about the Cook topic. Because it doesn't feel right to sit here and continue along like he's absent, talking about his value and this negotiation that may or may not be actually happening, like whatever it really is. There has to be some guesswork in it because we're not in the room. It doesn't feel like, I think I'm getting sort of blocked in my brain because he is here and the conversation seems almost predicated on his not showing up today. It sort of ignores the fact. Do these guys know that he actually was there today? As they're talking about, didn't one of them just say, well, he could still hold out in the summer? Like, what does that sound like today, right? So I don't really want to do that, but we walked into it about a half an hour ago where I felt like, okay, because I do think his future through a contract is still as relevant as it was yesterday. He just didn't skip mandatory minicamp like we mostly thought he would. And that gets you to sort of a discussion that isn't seemingly to me isn't really worth having, which is like sort of what kind of move it is to skip mandatory minicamp. Like, is it even a big move? Other guys have done it. TJ Watt's a pretty big deal. Like, he's not at this for the Steelers today, but I'm not sure what it has to mean.
I feel like it is almost entirely symbolic, which is why when we talked about it yesterday, like how are you prepared to feel if he doesn't show up, which again is what the betting money was on, him not being there for this. But of course now we learned today that he obviously is and said as much that he intends to report to training camp too. It's really would just be the opportunity to, get you're included with the other guys who are unhappy with their contracts. And so, national shows or even shows like ours in other markets that are talking about the stuff that's going on in the NFL as we talk about these other teams. And we'll talk about Trey Hendrickson and DJ Watt and Terry McLaurin. James Cook would have been a part of that. But what kind of pressure would any of that put on the Bills? None. The pressure that the Bills would feel comes when and if he's not prepared to play games for them or get ready to play games for them. That's where the pressure is. And, again, him being there now in and of itself symbolically does not rule out him taking a stand at a later date, but it would be pretty surprising. Like the order of things here would be just kind of messed up from how, at least I perceive it to usually go. Guy unhappy about a contract, first opportunity to make the team, supposedly, like, at least let everyone know you're upset, is not showing up to the first mandatory thing. Well, he did that, and he participated. And he also told us the reason the training camp thing, the only question there is going to be whether he is a hold-in, not whether he's a holdout. I think he told you today, I'm coming. Like, he'll report on time, but whether he participates is still, I think he left it maybe intentionally somewhat vague. But it feels to me very much like the story has shifted. Like I think I said, I don't know if this is exactly what you're alluding to, but like a half an hour ago, the story shifts now to, should you invest in him for the next 3 years, say, or 3 years after this rookie deal is up, right? Are they being smart here, or are they being, foolish, not respecting what he does for them, and potentially they're walking him right up to free agency, basically, is what they're doing without a contract extension. And to that, I say, fine. If this were the most important wide receiver on the team, I think we would, a lot of us, me included, definitely would feel differently about it.
Well, who is that, by the way, since you brought that up? Who is that?
Right.
Who is the most important wide receiver on the team? I want to know, so I can ask myself that question.
Well, it's Shakir.
That's right,
I think. And if he hadn't gotten a contract extension, that would be a story. Because receivers do get top, and he didn't even get a top of market contract, but he got a going rate for a player of his caliber contract extension, and that matters more. Having that solidified matters more, way more to me, and I think to the Bills. By their actions so far, I think it's fair to say this, and we'll see what happens down the road, because they're not forbidden from getting something done with Cook, even between now and training camp, or even next offseason, if they so choose. But they're basically taking him by the hand and walking him to free agency if they don't get something done.
Right. I mean, we're not there yet, but if. Yeah, what it says about their feelings about Shakir is, if nothing else, that he was more agreeable to what they thought his value was. It may not be any more than that. We don't know how far apart the Bills and Cook are, but enough for it to sound like it had earlier in the spring. Like, we'll just put this off. Is he more valuable to them than Cook? Because was that 15?
Yeah, that's right. It's really kind of funny right at the number that Cook has been looking for reportedly.
It's good that I have this job, because if can I say that? I'm sure somebody in their car is like, are we sure it's good that you have this job? But I'm just so weirdly tied up all the time about their players. In this incarnation of the Bills, not all the time, but I think of Shakir in kind of the same way I think of Cook, which is like, sure, he's good, keep him, okay, and I don't say any of that to be sarcastic. Like, I think he's good. I think his role in the offense blocks what I think might be a more optimal offense. Whether that's Kincaid there or whether that's Coleman there, maybe that could be Elijah Moore, maybe that could be Samuel. Like, he is your slot receiver, and that's it. Like, Shakir has sort of locked that up. I mean, he doesn't play every snap. What is he? He comes out,
If they're not in he took, was it 0 snaps with less than 2 or less receivers? Like, if they go to 2 receivers, he's not one of them.
I want to say, was that Rich Rebar? I want to say it was 25.
20, okay.
I wrote that down on the back of one. Yeah. Here it is.
Oh, point, yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
On a back page, because we're on our way back, everybody.
On the page behind something from 6 years ago. Great, good method.
I'll tell you what was on the other side of this page.
I don't even care, let alone the people out there. What do you got?
Last year, with 2 receivers or less on the field, Shakir ran 25 routes.
Okay.
So, there.
Not a lot of frequency there. But still, I
have to say, I'm sorry. On the other side of this page is a sentence that reads as follows. The Cook thing is more symbolism to me.
That's it? You wasted a whole page on that?
No, it's one line.
Oh, okay, I see.
But literally, you just said that.
Really?
I just wrote it down. You just said it. It's symbolic.
Oh, okay.
Going to minicamp or not going to minicamp is symbolic.
Right, okay.
And here,
wow,
6 years ago, I doubt it. Here on this other side of the same piece of paper, the Cook thing is more symbolism to me. Then there are some picks.
This is some sort of AI notebook you got going there. It's like reading my thoughts. Or something. I don't even know.
Maybe. Here's one about ice cream.
I 100 need it even be said, but just to 100% support them extending Shakir. Your leading pass catcher, albeit in an already exhaustive everybody eats model, matters way more than your running back. Just does. So get that done. It is interesting that it's at the dollar figure, which is not. It's like mid-market for receivers, top of the market for running backs. I mean, it says a lot. That disparity tells you a lot about how the position is viewed and valued within the league, which is, of course, like the foundation of this entire conversation. So, yeah, of course they paid Shakir. I don't want to say, of course they're not paying Cook, because maybe they still will. But I have thought all along that their model would be, okay, yeah, we'd like to do something, but not at that number, and you go fly be free. We'll replace you. Thanks for coming.
Is anybody listening, even though it's been a minute, thinking about Cook versus Shakir? Like in terms of value right now as you're talking? Is anybody else thinking about that? I'm thinking about that. I don't know what I want to do with it. I mean, like Cook being a running back, is it even worth comparing them?
Yeah,
but Cook, like running back guy, as long as he's not like the biggest Shakir fan, probably, running back guy would be incredulous to that take. Cook, 18 touchdowns. Shakir, 4. Like, is Shakir giving you these big plays that Cook does? Is he giving you, what is he giving you? Like, he's fine. You know, it's a few catches for 60, 70 yards. Like, what is he giving you? Running Cook guy, the guy who called in at the 3 o'clock hour on Cook, who got to compare him to Barkley.
The best guys in the league, yeah.
Like, what does he say if you tell him that Shakir is, you can change the words because it's your mouth, but clearly more valuable than Cook?
I think he probably makes a bunch of points that make it sound like he hasn't watched football since the 80s.
18 touchdowns.
How many would Ray Davis have scored if he were on the field in Cook's place?
Okay. Can I'm going to keep being running back guy?
Yeah.
Cook guy?
Yeah.
Davis had 6. I think that's 50% more than your guy. As a backup.
It's easier to score rushing touchdowns than it is receiving touchdowns. I don't know.
Is it?
Sure.
Is it?
But it doesn't require a transaction involving the ball being thrown through the air.
Who hasn't watched football? I believe Josh Allen is your quarterback, and it shouldn't be maybe possible, maybe to be expected that you could have more than 4 touchdowns in a season with Allen on the team.
Not if James Cook and Josh Allen themselves are bogarting them all. That's pretty much what happens. I mean, if they weren't so good at scoring with James Cook, maybe they would have thrown it to Shakir a little more in the red zone.
Cook and Davis combined had more receiving touchdowns than Shakir last year. See, this isn't me. I mean, I don't hate this. It's kind of fun. This isn't me because I'm not touchdown guy. I'm never going to be touched. I guess I can't say that. What can I get away with here? When it's Cook scoring 16 rushing touchdowns, I'm like, yeah, fluke. You know, that's not sustainable. We'll have regression for sure.
But you can't wait to tell me that Shakir only had 4.
I can't wait to tell you that Kincaid has only had 4 in his career.
Right.
I don't know. What are we going to do with that?
Well, just you're going to plead guilty to using different data to support your argument when it's convenient, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
That's terrible.
That's just the way the world works. I mean, you're not unassailable in that department.
That's terrible.
Anyone is.
I'd hate to be accused of that.
Well, shoe fits, whatever.
Tyrell Shavers.
Yeah,
almost as many touchdowns.
You're Yeah, in a world where your quarterback is your most important player, the guy he throws the ball to most often is, maybe your next most important guy. And the running back is not, just doesn't challenge that.
I'm going to drive myself crazy. I'm going to drive everyone crazy. this summer.
Okay.
I will make an effort not to.
I look forward to that.
I will make an effort not to. But if Cook was an issue, which he maybe still is or maybe never was, right now you got to feel better about it than yesterday.
Sure.
So that's kind of like back burner, if at best, is Cook. What's on the front burner for these guys? Like literally, what is the thing that needs to be fixed?
Beating Kansas City in January.
It's not. It'll be after Christmas.
Wrong answer. Right.
That's the right answer.
But that is the answer. Right. It's just not a convenient one.
There is not. Listen, no offense to Brandon Beane, of course. If wide receiver isn't worth, if it's not fair to scrutinize what the decisions they've made at that position, there's nothing more fair. There's nothing. I mean, look. Where they're still doing it. Shaq Thompson, look at what they have done on defense this offseason. It's free agency, it's the draft, it's everything. They've poured effort into that, and they are going to run it back with almost the same personnel on offense, subbing out Mac Hollins, if you want Cooper, I guess. I mean, he was on the team for half of it, but for Elijah Moore and whoever else. I don't know who else. A refreshed Curtis Samuel.
Josh Palmer.
Palmer, of course.
New.
Palmer's the answer. Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and that is kind of the crux of the whole conversation, right? Like assets, premium assets, and what are you trying to accomplish? And sure, like it's not hard to look at the Bills and say, I need to do some work on that defense. I had losses. I haven't supplemented appropriately. I need more. Whatever it is, right? Edge, middle, back end, corner. I need more. Okay, you need more. It is worth pointing out, it's the second time since this championship window opened that they have sort of gone into an offseason operating under that premise. After the 2020 championship game loss, that was Russo and Basham back-to-back, top two picks. Following top pick is A.J. Epinesa right after that. Ed Oliver's in there too. Like all of these premium assets are being, deployed there, and they've gotten some results, but not good enough that it has avoided them having to 4 years later do the same thing, which is what we just did. So. Some of us are still over here going, Diggs, full marks. You did it. Look what happened. It worked. Now the league has changed and offenses has changed because of the way defenses are playing. And there's a lot of things that go into the pot here. So it's not just as simple as, they haven't put enough resources into pass catchers, skill players to make the offense more explosive and get Josh Allen off. That's maybe harder to do than it was 4 years ago. But I don't know, from 5,000 feet up, they did the same thing this offseason that they did in the 2020 offseason. And, that kept them contending, that kept them at the top of the AFC East. They haven't lost the division since then. They've been in the play. They've won playoff games every year. There's been a certain amount of success, but it has not gotten them there yet. And that's not to say that this round of defensive reinforcements won't be the thing that gets them over the top. It's just that we've done this already, and it hasn't worked.
It's tough to say hasn't worked, but in that one specific moment, which is kind of what it's all about, it hasn't worked. It's always both. Like these moves, I always say how if you win a championship, everything you did can be defended. If you traded your best player for your new worst player, but won a championship, okay, like
it's validated.
It didn't,
right?
It's validation. Like you can't really get after anything. Well, they've come pretty close to that. But that's only what it is. It's not the same as winning. They've come pretty close to that. Maybe this will be the year they get their first road playoff win since 1992. Or maybe they won't have to go on the road.
Right.
Because they're going in their final game 16-0, and they rest people against the Jets in the last home game in the regular season at their stadium. and
win it anyways.
That's good. It's better. And then 20-0. Or it's 19-1, and we're in here next year doing the same dance about how whatever they did didn't work because they could not get Dak Prescott on the ground in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like, it's just such a tough bar, but that's how it is. It's fun to talk about, but it's also like, if I wasn't in the job, I would want to be like, all right, well, you be out there for a while. Right. I'm not worried about anything. Right. You be out there for a while, and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you, when we get into the season.
Hey, you mentioned the Jets finale, and if you know this, for our audience, if you were with us, I was rooting for the Jets to be the final, at least regular season game. You can't control what's going to happen in the playoffs, whether you even be home or not. You hope you are, of course. But final scheduled regular season game in the stadium is the Jets. First ever game in the stadium, regular season game, was the Jets. Do you know that the second regular season game in the stadium was against the Eagles?
No, I didn't. That's good.
A listener pointed this out to me last week or the week before one day, sent me a message.
Tom Dempsey.
And the second to last home game here is going to be. I have no idea. I did not look that far into. I'm a big synergy guy.
You are.
So I don't know if that dots the same I and crosses the same T. Like if the Bills wanted that or someone wanted that.
No way.
But the Jets, it's believable to me that you'd want the last game to be the same as the first game. To go so far as to say the second game be the same as the second to last game is a bit much, but as it turns out, that's what happened.
Who's my third to last game?
Right. I haven't looked. I haven't gotten any notifications
Who
about
is that?
it. I don't know. Oh, who's
Bengals?
the Bills?
Bengals.
Yeah, that's right. Bengals is the home game before that.
The Bengals were their fifth ever.
Right. They did play him in 1973. I was there. Yeah.
Philadelphia's Tom Dempsey missing a field goal at the end, just like the first Bills game I ever went to when he was the Bills kicker.
All right.
1979. All right. No way is that a thing that happened. No way is that a thing that people cared about. You do have a Wallace Francis kickoff return touchdown in that Eagles game. And isn't the story that he did that in the first preseason game?
I've always known it was a 103-yard return against the Eagles. I felt like that was the preseason game, but now that doesn't make sense.
It was a regular season game. It's the first touchdown they scored in the stadium because they did not score a touchdown in the Jet game.
So I don't know then if he had one in the preseason that year too. I don't remember, but I remember. I still have a scrapbook with pictures of him catching that ball just inside the Bills' goal line.
They kicked a 12-yard field goal in this game. Those were the days. Oh, I love a 12-yard field goal. 803-0550. James Cook is in. What does it matter to you? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. All the focus in the country today on health, rightly so. More and more people trying to find ways to feel better that don't involve pills or especially surgery. QC Kinetics could be able to provide this for you. On the cutting edge of a medical revolution since 2018 using regenerative medicine, they have helped tens of thousands of people get lasting joint pain relief using natural treatments that harness your own body's healing power. This sounds like what
James Cook was a full participant and in attendance today for day one of mandatory minicamp. It was a full roster for the Bills today, but they did have a few injuries, according to head coach Sean McDermott. Ty Johnson, Connor McGovern, Cole Bishop, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Bale Inspector, Cam Lewis, and KJ Hamler. But McDermott did clarify none of these injuries should spill into training camp. And then before practice as well, the Bills did announce a one-year deal for linebacker Shaq Thompson. Our own Sal Capaccio has more on it today up at our website, WGR550.com. We did have a number of players, though, around the league skip mandatory minicamps today. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver for Washington. Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher for Cincinnati. Rookie edge rusher Shamar Stewart for Cincinnati was in attendance today, but is not participating. He's still not signed his rookie deal. And then edge rusher TJ Watt for Pittsburgh. And then the Bisons, they are back home tonight. They take on the Clippers. First pitch just after 6:35, and that's going to be over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
We all agree Trey will be right? But technically he's still 1% wrong for being under contract. In my case, I'm 100% right, so it should be a no-brainer. Trey's case, I think it should be a no-brainer too. I mean, he led 17.5 sacks 2 years back-to-back. If I was the GM or I was the owner, take all my money. But I guess they don't operate like that.
See what I mean? See what life is like across the other side of the fence? Cincinnati, not even like the Jets. Cincinnati, pretty good. Shamar Stewart, draft pick this year. They can't get a deal done. He's there basically calling them on it. I mean, he's absolutely doing that.
Right. Isn't the story there like every other first-round rookie contract has the kind of language they're trying to get in it, and the Bengals are saying no. The Bengals, man. Like I got to give them. They've kept it together better than I thought they would, but they managed to always still have some kind of something. You know, the Hendrickson thing. The market cornered on that. They've got a veteran pass rusher who they might rightly be afraid about rewarding for great seasons that he's just completed and going forward. Like, is this really going to be a good investment? Maybe Pittsburgh's thinking the same thing about TJ Watt, and I can understand that. Here's a rookie that it seems like it's paint by numbers. just fill in just try to stay in the lines, okay? The code is going to tell you what color to use for this guy's shoes. Just paint it. What are you doing, Bengals? You always find a way to step in it.
Stewart said, quote, or they, quote, just want to win arguments more than winning games.
Guy hasn't even suited up yet.
I know. What a sad thing.
That is so tough.
I'm like the Bengals in that way. I just want to win the argument, really. I just wanted James Cook to hold out so we could talk about it and ask each other every day whether it was worth it for him to do that.
Yeah,
whether the Bills really need him and all these things. I just want to have my fun. It's still. I keep saying it's May. It's not May anymore. It's actually June.
Yeah,
but still.
It's barely even early June. I mean, it's the
double digits.
It's Father's Day is this weekend.
Yes.
I know how time works. I know how the calendar works. It just seems early. I wasn't ready for the U.S. Open this weekend. Father's Day, like that is just.
It's the earliest it could be.
Okay.
Because the first was on a Sunday.
Right.
It's the third Sunday in June.
All right. I feel validated. Then
yes.
Feeling freaked out.
And it's still 5 more days from now, so it's not like tomorrow or something.
No, but still, yeah.
You have a little time.
Yeah.
You have a little time.
It's all right. I don't need to really get anything together for it. I mean, make an appetizer. We'll have a party at my sister's house.
I will be in Ohio, not at a party at my sister's house. There may be a party at my sister's house, but I will not be present if there is, driving from Ohio. I'll be watching my son's lacrosse tonight. There's not much else to watch tonight. There's baseball,
right?
Maybe the WNBA.
We're at that time where, yeah. I mean, obviously we got to the championship rounds here, but yeah, no basketball, no hockey. The off night for both. The basketball goes tomorrow, and then the hockey will go on Thursday again with Game 4.
We'll see if I find a baseball game that the announcers are not at like last night. How do you feel? Apologies if you said. I was pretty worked up. I got worked up about this last night watching a Pirates game. MLB Network is carrying the game. Their announcers are not there. And I doubt they ever said it. I didn't watch the whole game and listen to every word, but they never disclosed that at the beginning. I was watching it when it started. And I heard the guy say he was working with Tom Verducci, and I looked at the screen, and you always see the announcers in the booth at the beginning of the broadcast.
Scene setter, yeah, right.
But there was not that. And every time they would come back from commercial, they would still also not show the booth. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, I texted Andrew Filipponi, like, do you know? Like, are these guys not there? He's like, they're not here. And, you know, make your jokes about how it's the Pirates and nobody's there. But I think they're playing with the sound. They're doing things that are, it's more and more, I guess, acceptable. To not have announcers in the stadium, I mean, they can't afford it. MLB, to not have announcers in the stadium makes you think, well, they'll do whatever they want with the sound. Like, that stuff used to be taken really seriously, even in the arena, in the stadium, piped in sound.
Right.
That used to be a scandal. I bet they all do it now.
Oh, I almost don't. I don't think I doubted that they were doing it then, even. But now, for sure, yeah. Everything is so much easier to manipulate now.
We were in the press box for one of those many Bills games 7 or 8 years ago, and there was like a din. There was a sound because some of the crowd noise is on speaker in the press box, but not all of it. Like, it's quieter, but you can tell that something is turned up. And I was just drawn to it. It sounded like it was maybe a tape. And I never found out that it was. I even asked a couple people with the Bills, like, what is that crowd noise? And somebody said, like, oh, they must be right near the microphone. The microphone must be right near. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. And so last night, there are 2,000 people at the Pirates game, something like that. And I tweeted it. There was a check swing. And the fans booing the third base umpire who did not call it in the Pirates way. The booing was like, it's a 50,000-seat World Series game at Yankee Stadium.
Right. There's no way the number of people at that game were able to make that sound.
If I'm at a Pirates game, and I'm a Pirates fan, like my age and everything, I'm at that game last night, and it's the second inning, and I don't get a check swing call, you might look at me reacting to that and wonder if I'm dead.
Right.
I'm not booing. I'm not crazy. Like, how crazy would you have to be to boo that? Yet on the broadcast, it sounded like it was everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, see, that would bother me more than the announcers not being there. And I definitely am not a fan of that. I mean, I got crazy about the Stanley Cup playoffs, and you're not sending crews to Canada. Like, what are you doing? This is the playoffs. This isn't just like a preseason game. What? During the regular season, I know at times the NHL Network has like a Saturday broadcast, and it's EJ Radick and Kevin Weeks. And they're in a studio in New Jersey or somewhere, or wherever their NHL Network studios are. And that they do show them sitting in the studio. So you turn that game on when it's supposed to start, and whatever amount of run up they give it, they're not there because they're showing them sitting at a desk in a studio, and then they start doing the game. At times they also do that with a crew hosting the studio show, and then they just throw it to the local, the local broadcast of the game, and then go back for their lousy studio intermission, which is usually way worse than even what the local broadcast would be doing. But that's a different point. I mostly want to know, and because the expectation is, of course they're there. They're going to see things that we're not, and that's part of the value in being there. Whether that's the referee trailing the play that's not on the screen, has his hand up, and we can't see the goalie leaving the net. Well, guess what? If you're not there and you're doing the game off of a monitor, which I'm also watching, you don't see the referee behind the play with his arm up, nor the goalie leaving the net. And it's happened where I've been watching a game and that's how it gets exposed. Like, then they must not be there. I can tell by the way that all just went down. They didn't know there was a delayed penalty. And it barely affects how I enjoy watching the game, but it offends me anyways. I
want them to tell us.
Right, that's it. That's all it is. If you can't devote the resources to get these people there, all right,
which is laughable,
right?
Anyway,
all right, you made your decision, whatever. But just try not to present it to me because you're taking me for granted that I'm not going to notice. And as soon as I do, now I've got you, and now I'm mad. And again, it's not going to make me change the channel, but don't have some respect for the people watching your game that they're going to notice.
That's right, and care. It sounds when I say it, especially on the air, I feel like I'm just so paranoid or something. But so every day there are new examples of, this is actually fake. We thought it was bad 5 years ago or something. The whole fake news nonsense. But now, like guys I know in fantasy football that I've known of before I even started playing seriously were let go by Yahoo. And then today, Yahoo's got like 5 articles that are all computer written. Like they're now I'm supposed to take advice on whether to draft Jamison Williams from a bot. And I might not know that it's a bot. Right? When the Sabres and the NHL started to put ads on the boards, which now, are we taking that for granted now? I mean, that's what you get every game, that aren't really there. It just offended me. And I'm like, why wouldn't the Sabres put pretend images of people in the seats? Why wouldn't they just do that? Is that going too far? Why wouldn't they just make the crowd look like, if there's I don't know, it wouldn't apply to the NHL, I suppose, but imagine if the upper deck is empty, they don't show it because they don't want you to see that the upper deck is empty. Say maybe for a baseball game or something like that. That would be a thing. So I'm not going to show you where the seats are empty. Why don't I just, now because I have the technology, why don't I just put people in the seats? I mean, that doesn't feel like it's too far away. And I think in the same way, somebody would go, what's the problem? Somebody would say that about all these things.
Right.
What's the problem?
Why
Who cares?
Why does it bother you?
Why do I need Tom Verducci at PNC Park? He's watching the game on TV and giving you his insight. Why do I need him there? I don't know. But it just feels wrong. Tell me at least that you're not there, because then when you miss something, and I haven't caught somehow, because it's hard to tell.
Right.
It didn't used to be.
Well,
the Olympics, the Olympics would be in South Korea, and all the minor sports, those broadcasters are not in South Korea. They're in New York, right? I mean, doing the fencing commentary and that. That was a long time ago, and that's probably still the case. Maybe it was easier to tell, or more just common sense to think that.
It really, I'm now thinking, and I don't I don't know if this helps the conversation, but I just thought of this. I'm thinking about how I watch often, and this is not the case with a Stanley Cup final game or a big game, but if it's one of 82 or one of 162 in baseball, I am almost definitely not paying close enough attention that I'm ever going to notice. Often, because I'm doing something else. I'm reading whatever. I'm reading about some band I like getting back together, or I'm reading some sort of sports whatever. I'm doing something. I'm on a device. I'm not just staring at the TV intently, waiting to see if Tom Verducci is going to notice this check swing and the umpire in time, right? So I guess I'm sort of copping to being guilty of allowing them to get away with this, because they probably get away with way more than I've ever even noticed, because how many of us are just devoted to the thing that's on the TV screen entirely anymore? I mean,
I know, but I want to be
sports,
I want to be rewarded for being
sure.
such a fan that I'm watching the Marlins Pirates game and would like a little respect, as you put it.
Just that almost I rarely ever am that tuned into it anymore.
Yeah, you're playing Heyday. You're building your fake farm. You're feeding your chickens on Heyday. That does really take up your attention. There's always something else to do.
Right.
You got to feed the animals. You got to collect the fruit.
We had a little real wildlife drama at our house today.
I love a wildlife drama.
We got a break after this.
Okay,
I hope
I'll stay tuned for that.
I'm very hopeful that it has reached a very happy conclusion, but I'm not sure.
I might have to leave.
All right. I was trying to do an effective tease there.
Well, I think it was. I think we'll find out in the numbers in the R&D tomorrow. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Hey, it's Bulldog here for Excelsior Orthopedics. We all know that accidents happen at home, on the job, on the field. So when you suffer a
James Cook showed up, mandatory minicamp. He took that literally. Sounds like it's mandatory that I should be there. Speaking of, is he or are they there? Wildlife at Bulldog's house.
I found out this morning when I let Fred out. I'd noticed, I guess previously, I noticed it again today, an adult rabbit, like very near the back door. There are often rabbits in the backyard, and Fred, they'll be there. Sometimes they're in the right spot in the garden. They'll just stand there, like maybe nobody sees me, and Fred won't even notice. He'll just go do his business, sniffing around, peeing and pooping, and then comes in, and the rabbit is just still standing there like a chocolate bunny. Like, Fred. Anyway, but usually the rabbit, the back door opens, a rabbit scurries from somewhere in the yard under the fence or into the garage and out under the garage or whatever. They get away. But the last few times I've been letting Fred out, in the evening or early in the morning, there's a rabbit kind of close to it still runs away and gets away. Fred, doesn't have the foot speed to catch a rabbit that's got a head start on him. But today I noticed after this rabbit scurried away, I'm standing out there in the backyard, kind of right near the door, stretching or whatever I might do while Fred is doing his business. And I noticed in a pot that's been sitting there, like a big potted plant pot, but very big, like for maybe like an arborvitae tree or something. This big pot that's just kind of full of dirt. We're not doing anything with it. I don't even know why it's still there, but it's there. I look, I'm like, oh my gosh. There's bunnies. There's at least two that I can see. There's a nest in there and two little bunny heads.
Little bunny heads.
Little bunny heads. I'm like, we got bunnies. Oh my gosh. Fred never, I think maybe the air conditioning unit is right there and that freaks him out. He never goes over there. He never smells around there. I was not worried that he's going to find these bunnies. But all the same, I just thought, I better let everybody know, hey, there's a nest there. Don't mess around. I Googled 3 or 4 weeks. It'll, run its course. They'll get out of there. Okay. I go back outside at 1:15 before I came here. The bunnies were gone. And I thought, oh, well.
They grew up so fast.
I know, right? It's just wow, 1 minute they're there. And then it's I sure hope that this just happened. I'm thinking, I just happened to notice them on the day that they were going to get sprung. They're going to hop out of there and just go on their bunny way. I text my wife. I'm like, hey, just so you know, the bunnies weren't there this afternoon when I looked again. And she texts back, oh, well, I sure hope a hawk didn't get him. Could
have been a hawk.
Could have been a hawk. I mean, it's certainly conceivable, but it's just not a spot that I would expect. It's at the middle of a field or anything. They're in a pot close to my house. I'd be surprised if that happened, but I guess it's possible. But I hope the bunnies are okay.
Well, this story tells me that I don't have all the bunnies. Because I kind of thought I had all the bunnies.
Yeah.
In planters... Even?
Yeah, right. That's what this kind of was. Yeah.
We have bushes that are, I think, dead from the bunnies. I got to stop saying. The rabbits that live under the deck that I think have just been eating off of these things all winter. And there are often rabbits.
Many.
Around, yeah. All around. I mean, it's got to be a lot of them at this point.
Yeah.
And they're taking out our stuff.
I do hear that they multiply.
Yes, they have that reputation, and my dog would chase after them, but probably lose. Yeah. She's fast.
Yeah.
She might not be rabbit fast.
I'm always rooting for Fred to lose because I don't want to see what would happen if he actually caught a rabbit.
We wouldn't put Margot, who was probably 10 pounds at the time, on a leash in the backyard before the trees grew in because of hawks.
Yeah, right.
Because we have a lot of those.
Yeah.
It's bucolic where I am. Yeah. It's so rural.
Yeah.
No, it's just enough land to bring on, rabbits and hawks.
I did tell my wife, I'm obviously no expert in this field, but the nest area that I saw the bunnies in this morning did not look as though it was that disturbed. And I'm imagining a hawk swooping down there and grabbing them out of there somewhat violently would have left more of a sign of a struggle, I guess. In my mind, the rabbits I saw them right at the end, and they're out there in the rabbit world. I hope.
See, this could be the movie we were talking about before, but if it's the James Cook movie, the rabbits are just back and they've built a little house. And
right, I'm going to get home tonight and they're there. Right.
There'll be doors. It'll be all just fine. 803-0550, James Cook in for mandatory minicamp. His value to the Bills, we've been talking about it a lot lately. Today takes some of the edge off. All of it? I don't know. You tell us. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Day one of mandatory minicamps is in the books for the Buffalo Bills. It was a full roster today, and that does include running back James Cook, who was not only in attendance, but was a full participant at practice. Also at practice today, the newest Bill, linebacker Shaq Thompson, who the team announced right before practice had signed a one-year deal. There were some injuries, according to head coach Sean McDermott. Ty Johnson, Connor McGovern, Cole Bishop, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Bale Inspector, Cam Lewis, and KJ Hamler, but McDermott did confirm none of these injuries should spill into training camp. A number of players around the league, though, did skip mandatory minicamps today. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin for Washington, edge rusher Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati. Cincinnati also dealing with rookie Shamar Stewart being in attendance but not participating. He has still not signed his rookie deal. And then TJ Watt for Pittsburgh. The Bisons are back home tonight. They take on the Clippers. First pitch in just about a half hour, 6:35. That game can be heard over in our sister station, the Bet 1520. While nationally, the Mets host the Nationals just after 7. Then at 7:40, Yankees are in Kansas City versus the Royals, and the Blue Jays are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog.
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
I feel like one of my takeaways from today, this is not at all to do anything but, accept happily that James Cook is there. Because that was something to ponder. Maybe it still will become that later on in the offseason. There's no contract, but he was present, and people like that. This is pretty much cake, this mandatory minicamp, I got to think. Like, what are they really asking him to do? Stretch? You got to get dressed. No pads, though. Stretch. Run a few plays. Run up and down the field a couple times, right? Jog to get loose. Listen. Here are some concepts we're thinking about.
I don't know what the meeting room part of mandatory minicamp is, or if there even is one. It's not a question I've ever thought to ask Sal, but I don't know. They could be getting quizzed for 8 hours. I don't know.
I think there are meetings.
Yeah,
but it's not the hot summer sun where you're trying to win.
No, mostly I feel like minicamp has always served the purpose of there being a reason why the team can at least see you for a while before training camp. Let's get eyes on you. Because you're running a team here. You want to know if guys are in shape. If they, a guy could hurt himself and not want to tell you because he just want to let you down, or he's hoping to work through it and be healthy by the time the season comes, or whatever. It's just an opportunity to see your personnel, see the people who work for you. Let's all get in here. The practice, I don't think, is that meaningful. I'm sure there are, maybe for rookies, it's, your first time. Everything is an escalation, so it's more than what you've been doing. It's more than rookie minicamp because all the veterans are here. So it's, sort of get familiarity, that kind of thing. But on a football season, from a football planning preparation standpoint, no, it feels like a bed check. It feels like a 3-day bed check.
Yes, and the third day is adventure landing.
We just want to make sure your limbs are all still attached and there's no bone protruding through any of them. And okay, we're good. Thanks for coming in.
Thursday will be like team bonding, but it can't be grueling or anything. It can't be anything where you could get hurt.
Right.
We'll be rock climbing probably.
Right.
Or get air or something like that. We're just on the bounce house for an hour.
Right.
But it'll be something like that. And here's Cook going, let's see, it's really low key. I get to see my teammates and not be fined $100,000. Fine, sure.
Right, that's a win for me, dog.
We still want this new contract. My being there doesn't change that. It sounds like a pretty good time, actually. Maybe there's a lift, but you're already doing that. In theory, you're already working out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an excuse for teams to get you in, and they can fine you if you don't come. So they got you on this one. But I think James Cook will be fine. Also, someone who's fine, Sneaky Joe.
What about Sneaky Joe?
I almost woke up to some trivia today from Sneaky Joe.
Really?
Which I enjoy that.
All right.
I enjoy having that on my phone at 8 o'clock this morning. Would you like me to?
Sure. Yeah, I did not get similarly notified.
So 3 NFL teams. No, I got to change it. I got to change the wording.
Okay.
1 NFL team has had a different starting quarterback each of the last 8 years, week 1. This year, that streak will end. Who is that team? 8 years, 8 different week 1 starting quarterbacks. It's about to end.
Wow.
You'll get it eventually. So I don't want to give you hints because eventually if you have to go team, which is what I did.
Yeah.
Just sort of
All right.
eliminate.
I'm doing that, and I'm looking at a team that I think is definitely a candidate in the AFC. Now, but I only found one. My first cruise through the AFC, I only found one that I think could be right. But I don't have everything memorized, but I certainly know they had a new guy last year who's definitely going to be the guy this year.
Okay.
That's one in the AFC. Is it? Can you tell me, should I bother with the NFC? Is it an AFC team?
It is not an AFC team.
Okay. Well, then Denver's out.
Denver is out. I wonder what Denver is. What Denver looks like.
Because Russ
here.
was only 1 year, right?
Since Manning, how many guys have they been through? A few. Osweiler, was he in there? Yeah, Denver's not a bad guess. And you're right, of course, that they're going back to the same guy.
Right. In the NFC, then,
Wilson was 2 years.
Oh, it was 2 years? Okay.
Because he was Nate Hackett, and then they hired Peyton.
And then Sean Payton, and they had that's right. And then year 2 of that, they jettisoned him. Yeah, okay.
But after Manning, Simeon, Keenum, Flacco, Locke, Bridgewater, Wilson, Nix. Wilson times 2.
Close.
Simeon times 2.
Close. Well, rather than belabor it, it could be Chicago.
It's not Chicago.
No, Trubisky. I talked myself out of that, and then we started talking about Denver again, and I went right back to Chicago, and I knew it had already gone. Trubisky, of course, he played more than 1 year as the, second overall pick?
Yes.
Okay, so not them.
This team has had a different week 1 starting quarterback each of the last 8 years, and that streak will end unless there's an injury.
The Washington Commanders.
Washington, right. Working backwards, Jaden Daniels, Sam Howell,
right.
Carson Wentz. That happened.
That's hilarious.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was injured in their opener, and Heineke went in. Heineke is not one of the 8.
I know. I was going to say that's amazing because I feel like he's had that job 3 different times.
But he was never a week 1 starter, I believe. The late Dwayne Haskins in 2020. Keenum again, 19. Denver, he's on Denver's list and Washington's list.
Yeah.
18 is Alex Smith. 17 is Cousins. 8 different week 1 starting quarterbacks in 8 years. Daniels should be the starter week 1 this year. Right? I mean, I'm pretty confident.
I feel pretty confident.
They're going to go back to him.
The rookie of the year. Yeah, I think they'll put him back in.
Washington hosts the Giants in week 1.
And no wonder they seem like they've turned a corner behind their fantastic, now second-year quarterback.
Go figure. 3 other teams this year are preparing to start a 4th different quarterback week 1 in a row.
Pittsburgh.
Rodgers, Fields, Pickett, Trubisky.
Okay.
That one I did not get. That Trubisky was a week 1 starter for Pittsburgh.
That was after he left here, right? He goes from Chicago to here for a year, and then Pittsburgh signs him to go compete and presumably win, and he did win the job, right? And now he's back here after that washed out. I think he's there for the Pickett year as the backup, because I think he plays a little there that year and then comes back here. I think I've got that right.
Roethlisberger is on the team. Roethlisberger is the name here, Joe. It was at the Bills. Wait, no. That would be 1 year before. So 22, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
We're counting 25 on this list.
Okay, so Pittsburgh makes the cut.
And two others.
The Jets don't, because Rodgers was their opening day starter 2 years in a row. He only played 4 years that first year, or 4 plays that first year.
Right.
Okay, so
why isn't it 5 for Pittsburgh? Anyway.
Who else? I'm back in the AFC again. Richardson was their opening day guy 2 years in a row, right?
I think so.
The Colts aren't a qualifier for this. Did Mac Jones get 2 years starting in New England?
Yes.
He did. Okay.
It's not New England. Looking at a fourth straight different week 1 starter this year.
Could Tennessee be right?
No.
Darn it.
What's Tennessee going to be?
Well,
Ward.
Levis last year.
Did he start week 1, though?
Ooh. I guess I thought so. But no, now that you mention it, probably not. They didn't just go to him.
And he was 2 years. I don't know.
Okay.
It's Tannehill before that. It's not
them.
Tennessee.
It doesn't matter. It's not them. Could Atlanta be right?
Atlanta's right. Backwards. Penix, Cousins, Ritter, Mariota. And one more.
No. Sorry. Not the Giants?
It's not the Giants. I'll get back to the Giants. It's not the Giants.
Could it be the Saints?
No.
Oh, the Vikings.
No.
Damn.
The Vikings would be McCarthy, back to Darnold, back to Cousins.
And then Cousins. Yeah, right. Okay. All right, who's the other one?
Raiders.
Geno
Smith, from Minshew, from Garoppolo, from Carr. So Joe set this all up for me. I got the Washington one right, and then he said the 3 teams, and I guessed Raiders, Falcons, Giants. And I said, and he told me the answer was Pittsburgh. And I said, but what if you limited quarterbacks named Jones to 1 year? However many years a Jones has, it counts as 1. Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, ha. And Joe writes, Joe writes, the Giants are a terrible guess. Jones was their week 1 starter last year. And like 4 years before that.
Right.
And then it's 20 years of Eli Manning. So, yeah.
Right. That's a bad.
To go 4 week 1 Giants starting quarterbacks ago, you're going before Eli Manning.
Well, I'm glad I mentioned them too.
Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner's in there, right?
Kurt Warner this is a fun game. You go just the 4 game. Kurt Warner is, including Russell Wilson, or whoever starts for them this year, probably Russell Wilson, including him, Warner is 4 week 1
starters ago
for the New York Giants.
That's pretty amazing.
And that's when I said...
And that is 2003? Or no, he started 2004 when Eli was a rookie, I'm pretty sure. Warner.
Maybe. I don't know, but it's about then.
Yeah, it's definitely around then. I think 2004 he plays there, and then Manning takes over.
So that's when. So now Joe is getting after me because your guess was terrible.
Right.
I'm like, listen, Daniel Jones does have a road playoff win, so back off. Let's see Allen get one of those.
Second mention of that today.
That's where it came from.
I see.
Because I needed to find something about Daniel Jones to yell at Joe with. To use against Joe. And that's what I went with. Road playoff wins. Then I made that list just for something to do. Now it's like 8:15.
Suddenly I'm not happy if I'm you getting this message at 8 o'clock in the morning because I don't want to be yelling at anyone about anything, especially Daniel Jones at 8:15 in the morning.
I don't know. It feels right. I had ADP chasing at 10, so I needed to get
loosen
loose.
up.
I needed to get loose.
Get on the range.
It helped. I thought it went well. Other quarterbacks who have road playoff wins in the last decade, mentioned a couple earlier, John Wolford, Mariota. Andrew Luck has one. 2018, is that at Baltimore or Denver?
Denver. I remember them play a playoff win in Denver.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
And Blake Bortles, the week after the Bills and Jacksonville play in the playoffs.
Does anyone else have a thing where if you watched a game in a place where you've never watched another game, you are going to remember the game better?
Yes.
The Hamburg Nike Base ice rink is where I watched most of that Indianapolis-Denver playoff game.
All right.
I don't think any other playoff game from that year. I got nothing. I can't even tell you what year it is. But I know I was watching it in the lobby of that rink. I don't know why. It's just there. Stands out to me for some reason. I don't know why. Wish I knew.
Andrew Luck being only 35. Does that bother you? Not like 45? No, I guess it's right. You retired young.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me he's that young because, of course, the story is he stopped because he didn't want to keep getting hurt. Which I respect. Yeah, I realize I said that in a tone of voice that could have implied that I think, like, you soft or something. No, good for you, dude. Get out while you can walk and think. That's a good play.
I also have him as a playoff road win in Houston in 2019, but maybe the Denver game is the 14 season, so it wasn't on my list. It's the Houston game after the 18 season that counts for Luck. But he does have the other one against the Broncos that you mentioned.
Okay.
That was January of 15.
Because I was going to really tip my world upside down if I had that memory wrong. I'm like, listen to me. It's like a steel trap. I know where I watched that game.
Whoops.
Yeah, wrong game, wrong
That
year,
happens, though.
wrong teams. What?
Wrong everything. That happens, though.
Help.
Our chat with Sal next on James Cook's unexpected arrival today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.